but then Dylan's just kind of sitting there silently, or apparently he's fucked off.
You got butthurt real quick when someone calls you out on your bullshit, huh?
No, all you're doing is coke.
All you got to do is retreat to like some homophobe. Such a great. I'm so above this drama shit.
They just keep talking.
Tweets out here calling Dylan fake gay.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not really.
Why you think Dylan is faking being gay? Maybe that's it.
You still can't define for me what straight even means. If you could do that, I think we could make progress in the conversation. But I just don't think you can do it. What does?
I mean, conservatives just have a super strict view of what straight is. It's basically, I mean, some of them it's literally, have you never had sexual contact with another man before? So, and then others, it's basically just the next harshest thing, which is sexual and romantic feelings and long-term relationships with only men. You know, they don't like tease anything apart, so they don't really have the definitions required for them to affirm to even get into those conversations. You know, they're either just like, have you ever even looked at a dick? Well, you're gay. Or do you only fuck men all the time and only romantically interested in men for the rest of your life? Well, then you're gay. You know, they have these super strict versions with no nuance. So it's almost like never good to discuss this with them, because they're just going to act incredulous when you give them an alternative definition. There's going to be like, oh, well, the libs are just redefining, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like a trap. They're not really looking to have that kind of conversation. They're looking for you to tell them some lib shit, you know.
Straight means same gender or same sex?
Dude, I'm done engaging. I already told you. This is about you tweeting this out, you manufacturing drama, you being caught red-handed doing that, you retreating to corners that you want to debate me in over your conceptual bullshit, instead of actually owning up to your actions like the honorable person would.
So I'm going to ask you one more time. Does straight...
I'm just going to skip.
Right. It's fucking unbelievable. Dylan just totally fucked Ryzen over.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like talking to this guy for like, what is this, like 5 to 10 minutes so far. I don't know how much time Chud's been taking up talking.
From what I understand, we need to watch more, but like from what people are saying and what I've heard, yeah, this just sounds like Dylan's just got Ryzen to spark some drama.
Yeah,
and
it's
just
brutal.
left him up against having some stupid convo. Big rapper fascist.
That sucks.
I just use it as a catch-all term.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of shitty. But it could be Dylan did it on purpose to inflame Rhizome's chat, you know? Because, you know, Dylan probably doesn't have anything against Rhizome. But if Dylan did it on purpose, it was probably to get chats talking and all inflamed before the talk tonight, you know?
Because I don't like using the words bisexual, homo, romantic. Which
yeah.
Which
I mean, I'm a little strict on how I'm not as intellectual with my sexual categories, where it's like, yeah, I don't like the discussion. I don't even like the labels that much, to be honest. I guess I have like a different view of them altogether, so I don't even like those discussions. Anyways, we're gonna watch this now. We're gonna watch the Supernova shit, which it means I can't put this VOD on Twitch, but that's okay. Because apparently some shit goes down here. So Supernova with Mr. Girl, Big Papa Fascist again, Stardust, some general people. Okay.
Oh no. I'm just saying to get the list better, we can say it this way. Now me and Andrew's lungs are shot because I smoke cigars, Andrew smokes cigarettes like a freaking chimney. Should we be able to go to Mexico or someplace?
Yeah, this fucking guy, Big Papa Fascist, is always smoking cigarettes. He's gonna fucking die from it for sure.
And buy us a
It's like really not good for you to always have a cigarette in your mouth.
lung.
I mean, I think that you should be able to do that to some extent, because you're exiting the healthcare of like your home state or like your home country, right? So it's not, when you go back, you're not going to be placing yourself in their responsibility, right? Like the places that you go to will be able to turn you away and be like, look, you didn't get the procedure done here. It's not a responsibility. We want no culpability. Fuck off and go back to the hospital in Mexico. Like, if you want to go, I don't really think that there's something terribly wrong with like medical tourism if somebody feels the necessity and they want to try it and they're going to die anyway, like, and they have the means.
Yeah, but
I mean,
but wait a second.
I mean, I used to smoke cigarettes all the time. It's just, you know, smoking like a chimney like it's the 60s is just rough.
Those organs had to come from somewhere.
I used to work when I worked at this mining facility before, like way before I came out to Chicago. There was this guy, he was a bulldozer operator, and he would smoke so much that he would light his next cigarette with the cigarette he was finishing. So he was just running them constantly. Like, he was unironically smoking all day sometimes.
Right?
Yeah, and especially countries that might not have the best track record. Say, and there's a lot of organs in China that really can't be accounted for based on their hospital deaths or anything like that. That goes into a perverse incentive market to make more organs, so to speak. So that,
right, but I'm talking about like the freedom, like the flexibility for somebody to do this. I'm not necessarily talking to whether or not it's like a moral or a just thing, right? Like I'm talking.
Yeah, but we are.
Well, okay.
I thought that was the whole point of the question. Is to talk
we like
morality.
we criminalize like people who go to other countries for perverse incentives that like break laws. Like there's a reason why you can't go to the Philippines and get a child prostitute and not face federal charges for that.
Well, yeah, that's just fucked up though. It's especially a special deal because if like an American does it, well, they're breaking all these American laws. So ones that are considered very serious, So it's not that surprising if, like, the Philippines works with the U.S. to, do shit like that. Because I do think that's how it is. I think the U.S. has some kind of program where if you break the law there, you get in trouble back in the U.S. Because U.S. criminal justice, you're just fucking done, It's like the end of the line. That's why they send all those Mexican cartel lords up here.
So like at least in the United States, we also kind of like, hey, you can't do this like extremely immoral shit just because it flies in some other country. We kind of understand that if you don't disincentivize that sort of behavior with
but I don't know if medical shit's like on the same level. So
well, exactly.
What part of it makes it immoral?
Don't get any ideas, Mr. Girl. Don't get any ideas.
What, going over and fucking little kids? I hope Stardust isn't asking what's immoral about that.
What part makes what immoral?
The organs.
What I did, like
organs.
Well, again, like there are countries that have a little bit less like good track record when it comes to keeping.
But there are all kinds of situations where we have countries that have better, like worse, like worker treatment, worse like quality control, worse like any number of things.
Well, that's unethical too. Just because we do one horrible thing by exporting all our child slavery to China doesn't mean we should start taking their fucking organs too.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so let me rephrase
if it's
this.
already in the cooler right there in front of me.
Wait. Let me rephrase this. Wait. Guys.
So there's a reason. No.
This is Vosh's defense of child porn.
And Vosh's defense of child porn is like a really fucking retard reasoning for this too, by the way.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like, well, if we're already wearing t-shirts and laptops made by kids, then we might as well just have child porn.
There's a reason why every single country in the world criminalizes the production of child pornography, and it's because you can't make child pornography without raping
but
kids.
the United States.
Yeah, like I think it's actually kind of clear what the impetus for a lot of child pornography is, because a lot of it's just like hardcore, and you're fucking harming a child. It's like almost necessary, unless it's basically just necessary. Because I imagine even if you don't touch them, it's not good for their mental health.
Guys, let's move away from this topic. 1 second. I want to rephrase the organ topic. Because
it's the same for the organ talk, baby. It's because
change it to organs.
It's really bad on a bunch of levels. That is true, yeah. I mean, you know, in some cultures, they're still kind of like that, where they view, like, a child as an investment in the family. And so if there's, like, poverty in the area, they might be willing to sell off their children or marry them off or whatever. Yeah.
Organs. Don't make it about porn, dude. Make it about organs.
You say you want blood sports, and
I want blood sports.
As soon as we start actually arguing with each other,
yes,
like,
yeah, okay.
I thought it was going okay.
Just a second. Let me phrase something to you, and you can tell me if you want to argue that or not. Okay? Let's say
argue what I was fucking saying
let's
already.
Say, shut up, okay, Mr. Girl. What did I tell Mr. Girl? What did I tell you about talking when I'm talking?
I think I was talking when you started.
Look me in the eye when you talk to me.
You're breaking the golden rule.
What is the golden rule?
Treat others how you wish to be treated.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I was joking. Anyways, so I was going to ask you guys if there was if there was a country...
Lost your train of thought, Stardust?
No, I didn't. If there was a country where we knew it was, like, moral, right? Where you got organs from volunteers, right? Who wanted to sell it for extra cash. Like, what's the moral wrong there?
The problem is the United States is supposed to be
I gotta turn that back.
a leader in the world.
I didn't mean... I was joking. Anyways, so I was going to ask you guys if there was if there was a country...
Lost your train of thought, Stardust?
No, I didn't. If there was a country where we knew it was, like, moral, right? Where you got organs from volunteers, right? Who wanted to sell it for extra cash. Like, what's the moral wrong there?
Well, I think the moral wrong is, like... It's not, like, objective. You know what I mean? It's more like it requires context, so that if we have two different societies and in one it's like normalized for people to feel morally good about donating their organs for money, say to so that it can be used in some other country or some shit, you know, there's some sort of exchange going on. Well, it really depends what the relationship between the two countries is, right? Because if it was like middle class people doing it in the UK and selling their organs to Americans, that's one thing. But if it's like fucking like super poor people in some war ravaged sub-Saharan African country trading that up with America, then I think the problems can actually kind of be self-evident. I would actually say you should investigate an exchange like that and scrutinize it before letting it through, you know, because you really are potentially dealing with an extractive system. It's not that complicated. It's just that in another part of the world, the money from, say, the United States is just worth way more than some person's kidney. Well, that's not, you know, that's not good. That doesn't, like, help anyone. And especially because that's not the kind of system that would help the country fundamentally. You know what I mean? It's not going to, like, improve anything. Some people are just going to get, like, a lump sum, which is, like, the worst possible way you could increase wealth in a country. It's just, like, giving someone some money like that. It's just, you know, it's going to last not that long, and the effects won't be a big deal. So it's actually not that hard to set up a contextual argument for why that's wrong. But, like I said, if it's two countries doing this, and they have, like, economic parity, and the people giving up their organs aren't coerced, then, yeah, I mean, it just sounds like something that would never happen, you know? The issue with organ trade is always the extractive issue.
The problem is the United States is supposed to be a leader in a world leader of morality. We're supposed to set the standard for how people should be treated. So then if we just say we're going to export all of the horrible things we want to do to people, like child slavery, child porn, child sex, child prostitution, whatever, random examples. We're going to export those to other countries, and then we say, well, it's fine. If you need to go get your kicks or do something fucking help steal somebody's organs or whatever awful thing you want to do, go to another country. Like, yes, I understand the rationale that, like, there's looser regulations with, like, plastic surgery in some countries, like get a Brazilian butt lift, and if you want to go risk your life doing that.
Yeah, I mean, just getting a medical procedure, it might not be that big of a deal, because what if it really is just a good medical organization in another country that just costs less for structural reasons? You know, it's nothing like going over and, like, having sex with a child, or, like, finding someone to sell, you know, in a fucking mud hut to sell you their kidney. These are worlds apart. You really can't even compare them. Yeah.
Fine, but when it comes to literally taking the body parts of the citizens of another country, I do think the United States, like, it's not really holding off.
Yeah, we can't go into a situation with the attitude, well, Americans just have money, so who gives a shit what they buy? Well, you know, I'm not trying to go full fucking Marxist leftoid, but I think it's kind of clear what could happen.
Our self-appointed position in the world to be, like, you know, the superheroes of the world, to then say, but we'll come to your country and harvest your organs if your, you know, corrupt politicians will allow it.
Well, what I gotta ask though. I just have to ask. Like, you say that the United States is supposed to be some type of net exporter of morality. What morality do you want to export, Mr. Girl? Your morality or my morality?
Well, I want to export whatever morality we can democratically agree on. I think we both probably agree.
Wait, what? So morality is democratically agreed on preference to you, Mr. Girl?
No. My morality, you don't get to vote on my morality, and I don't get to vote on your morality.
Right, so whose morality gets exported?
The one we vote on. We both get to vote.
Then you're not exporting morality, then. You're exporting whatever people democratically, whatever their preference is. That's not
the will of the people.
And that's morality. That's not... Because, okay, so his implication is you can't push for a morality system you don't hold? I don't believe that at all. I think that, to some extent, you're better off going with, say, U.S. liberal influence than some other influences in the world. You know, I would rather, in some cases, some countries try to have a deeper connection with the U.S. to help them situationally. And that's pretty much me being a proponent of a morality that's not mine. Because in some situation, with specific conditions, that morality is actually much better than what may be going on otherwise. You know, it's not that complicated. I think Big Papa Fascist is almost doing like this like psychological egoism where it's like, no, you're really just lying so that at some point you can push your morality into the democratic system. I think that's what he tries to catch Mr. Girl on.
The other problem is
why
that
we're
if
getting
you
a little sidetracked into defining what morality is. Clearly, the country has a stance with, you know, a global stance.
But as far as you, as long as it just has to be democratic, right? So if they democratically decide to export the morality of being able to harvest a person's kidney because they just feel like it, then that to you would be moral or no?
I would vote.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's more than just they voted yes. You can vote yes to nuke a country as an act of aggression. It's not good. I think it's kind of clear that not always is democracy better.
Against that, so that to me would be immoral.
Well, that doesn't.
You're just
doesn't answer the question.
Okay, let me break this down for you.
Yeah, break it down.
You're asking me to define what morality is?
No, I'm not. You said that you wanted to export morality.
Well, it sounds like Big Papa Fascist hasn't even given his definition for morality. He's just implying it with this democracy shit.
Let's let Mr. Girl finish.
Let me finish what I'm saying. You're saying, what is your morality, or how do we define our morality?
You're saying, and then redefine what I'm saying. Let me be specific about what I'm saying. You claimed that we're supposed to be a net exporter of morality. My question is, whose morality, yours or mine? And you said,
I didn't say
whatever we
supposed to be a net
democratically come up
exporter
with.
of I didn't say we're supposed to be a net exporter of morality.
Well, then how are we supposed to be the epitome of morality for the rest of the world, Mr. Girl?
He's not saying that like that. He's saying that it is seen that way, and it is. Regardless of anyone's image, as an American in the U.S., is enormously popular across the country, and people do look up to it. You know, it doesn't matter if you're like a fascist or like a leftist or some shit. Much of the world does not hate the U.S. and actually wants to be on its side actively, even after all of the shit we've done. So, you know, people really do still in other countries, even countries we think of as our enemies, look up to the U.S. I've talked to those people who like moved here. You know, like college students and shit moving here for college and all of this. It's surprisingly common. You know, like Iranian students and stuff that are just like huge America stans.
Okay, of whose morality, yours or mine?
It's not even setting it. It's not even.
Okay,
it's not even the moral majority.
Wait a second. I already responded to this. So you know that I'm saying the United. Well, that's fine. I think the United States. One of the values I believe in the United States is democracy itself, and that is one of the values that we sort of go around the world preaching and trying to help other countries follow our lead with democracy. So if you're asking me what I think the United States should actually do, if we make this like sort of more
not what I'm asking you.
Let me just finish my sentence.
Sure.
Yeah, let him finish. Big Papa Fascist is such a bitch. He just like interrupts people all the time.
If you're asking what the United States should actually do, I think it should do what the people in the United States vote for it to do. But you're sort of conflating that with this like more abstract way of framing the question of exporting morality, which like doesn't actually have a literal meaning, or like.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was talking figuratively that people see it that way, and that the U.S. preens itself with this image. I don't think that's very controversial at all.
Whose morality, yours or mine? If you're asking if I think I am a more moral person than you, like I don't know. Obviously, I believe in my own morals. So if yours are different from mine, then I probably think you're a less moral person. But that is a different question. It's just like you're conflating the two topics.
Yeah, but literally none of that answers what I'm asking you. Right? None of it answers what I'm asking you. So let me be precise one more time.
I think that
yours or mine.
Pedantic. He
I don't. Look, it's not what you're asking. It's not pedantic. Hang on. Stop. Let me finish. It's not pedantic when somebody says my claim is X, and this is what I want to see as some type of prescription, and then I say, well, then flesh it out for me, and it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. What is your actual question?
What doesn't make sense?
What is your question?
Okay. So my question is, do you say the United States is supposed to be a beacon of what's righteous for the rest of the world? But your standard for...
Well, he's saying that that's how people view it, and how... Literally, this is how, like, every fucking president talks. Like, I'm not tripping out here. People talk about this at the top of the U.S. all the time. So I think he's indicting it in terms of a contradiction between its image and what it actually does. I don't think it's that complicated.
What that is whatever people vote on. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
My standard for what is righteous is not what you vote on or what other people vote on.
But then Mr. Girl is kind of being cryptic. He's not answering it in a way they find satisfying, I guess, or he does.
Dictate my own view of morality. I want the United States to do. Okay, so when I cast a vote, I'm not saying, man, I wish I could override your vote with my vote and get my way because I think I'm better than you. I might think my morals are better than yours, and I'd be happier to see my vote win, but I don't want to win just because I've steamrolled your vote. If you get more votes than me, then I want you to win. Because I believe in democracy.
They're just doing a loop.
State level doesn't mean that the state that's engaging it is completely above board, especially
like I could see the loop coming from a mile away because there's no fucking way that Mr. Girl was saying anything that Big Papa Fascist wanted to hear.
There is a perverse incentive for them to kind of look the other way or to You know, oh yeah, no, this person's dead. Time to rip them open.
You still have an issue with it, right? Even if it was above board.
Specifically with like parts of livers, if it can like regrow, or maybe kidneys, but honestly, probably not.
You wouldn't have an issue with selling your kidney or your liver?
I think for-profit organ selling is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, you have an issue with it regardless if it was above.
Yeah, I honestly think there's very few circumstances where that probably isn't exploiting people. Because why else would it even work besides that human life costs less in some other country than the one that the organ is going to, you know? I mean, it shouldn't be... Yeah, it should be scrutinized heavily.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think...
You know, fascists, they don't care. They don't even believe in morality, so they'll just be like, I don't know, just fucking kill all the kids and take their organs.
Key thing...
There is no argument against it.
What I was trying to say before is that the framing of this, like the red market does this, you wake up in a bathtub with a note and like all this stuff. It's really easy to lose sight of the fact that this is like what 10 to maximum 20% of transplants that take place in like other countries. So when somebody is engaging in like transplant tourism because there's no regional availability and there is availability elsewhere, it's not always, it's actually like majority of the time through like legitimate means. And we already do like a shit ton of stuff to specifically discourage like the human trafficking aspect. Like there's an acronym for it even, like human trafficking based.
Yeah, I mean if you do it legitimately, that's one thing, you know.
On the
organ. It all depends on who the organs are coming from, what the relationship between the two countries is, and what the socioeconomics is of everyone involved. I think that's kind of it.
Organ something. So it really is like if somebody wants to go to Mexico, to go to Thailand, to go to Venezuela or whatever to get another organ because there's more availability there, I still don't really see any problem with it whatsoever, because majority of the time it is not going to be like a poorly harvested organ or like illegally harvested organ or something like that.
So the issues if somebody's being encouraged to sell their organs, then this ends up being exploitative to people in bad conditions. Those people are oftentimes not going to have the same quality of healthcare as other people. So they're the people who need these organs even more significantly. But in terms of these countries that they're going to... Finish my sentence? Yeah, they're not going to... They're going to need these organs, right? It's going to be... Yeah, okay.
Don't be a petulant child, Bryce. Let him finish.
In the case of the organs they're selling, right? These are people who are far less healthy on average. They're people in bad conditions. They're people who are low income, and because of that, because of all of these reasons, you encouraging those people to sell their organs is very clearly a morally wrong action.
I don't think that's necessarily morally wrong, because all the conditions that you listed are not set in stone. Like they're not going to necessarily be selling their organs just to get it through like a medical means. Like the places that they go for these legal transplants, like when you look at the Dutch statistics, I think there's like 4 per year. It's difficult in a lot of ways to look at like actually if there's anything wrong or like immoral in this interaction. Like I'd be really interested to see where you're basing these statistics, like arguments out of, if you had anything readily.
Which statistic are you referring to?
Everything that you listed in the conditions of their
the fact that people selling their organs are lower income on average.
No, the fact that they would be definitively lower income.
That's what I said was their lower income on average. Never used the word definitively. You dispute that they're lower income on average. Is that what you're looking for a source for?
Yeah, just any source in the statistics. Yes, that's what I asked.
So if I just grab you a source that says they're like lower income on average, that would be enough to flip your argument over.
I'm asking you for a source. Yes.
Sure. Okay. I'll grab you a source.
Thank you.
You guys can go ahead and fill the air while I do that.
Somebody in chat wants to just point something out. The problem with legalizing organ harvesting is that you potentially have lobbyists encouraging regulators to look the other way. See also antitrust lobbying in the U.S.
Situation where you have nobody that you can have a
well the list is for people who are deceased and are on the donor list. What she's talking about is like specifically some organs are more viable for others based on family relations, but sometimes people are at a match. And what she's saying is like, oh hey, you know, we're looking for kidney, you're looking for a kidney, here's our pool, here's your pool, let's see if we've got like anyone that can match and we can just swap. But I don't think there's any like barriers to entry.
So what appears where?
Yeah. Why shouldn't I deconstruct your stance?
You can deconstruct my stance if you want. I just want to point out that I'm sort of giving my opening.
I'm kind of fucking done with this organ discussion. I don't care.
Statement.
It seems like something really, really specific to the conditions of the organ trade.
Yes, about what I think.
So it's like if I don't know, I don't know.
Think about this and how I think.
I can't like evaluate anyone's arguments
about it, and you are trying to deconstruct it, but you're also framing your questions as though you're also like just asking about it. So I just want to acknowledge like you are jumping in to deconstruct what I'm saying. So if you want to do that, we can. But like I don't really
Isn't
have
it
like
important to you at all to have a consistent worldview? Do you think that that's just like fun and games? Is that just fun and games for Mr. Girl? I don't care about having a consistent worldview. Don't deconstruct my arguments. Don't ask me anything.
So glad that we're in
deconstruct
the
it.
middle
I just
of
don't
this
want you to
marital
pretend
spat.
you're not deconstructing it. So we can argue about it if you want, but yeah, we're gonna keep clashing about this, and like that's fine. But the way and this is the thing that I find frustrating talking to conservatives about abortion, or really to anybody about anything.
Mr. Girl's not that good against conservatives, especially one like Big Papa Fascist. Maybe against some others, but I don't think he's not gonna be our super weapon in the fight against fascism online. I think he's more of the kind of person you send against someone who isn't as aggro, but has a really interesting like social persona or something. Big Papa Fascist is gonna chase him down, kind of like Vosh or something, or worse, but in a different way, you know.
Maybe.
Is that they might probe you?
Because Big Papa Fascist is just sort of like the king of sort of like the smug white guy. Just sort of like laugh at everything except for like shit from Mad Men is fake, you know. You just gotta like fight through that. You gotta push really hard, and you gotta come down on stances. You have to have stances that you can defend. So like Mr. Girl's thing where he like deconstructs meta shit like about the conversation while the conversation's going on doesn't fucking do anything to this guy. Like, but Big Papa Fascist doesn't give a fuck about subtext, you know. I mean, besides just like laughing at everything he disagrees with, the man has no subtext. You know, it's all just pushing you on your stances, and not in the way Mr. Girl does or like Brittany does, but literally like logically concluding on stuff and being like a sneering ass about it. So it's just not gonna, you know, he's like Big Papa Fascist is almost like the guy that beats Mr. Girl almost every time in a lot of debates, I think.
About your actual belief?
Or visually, it would look like the audience, like Big Papa Fascist is winning most debates against him.
And you have to justify him, and that makes you very uncomfortable. Yeah, we get it, Mr. Girl.
No, it's that the goal of probing is to get somebody to be comfortable enough to tell you what they really think, to really reveal themselves.
No,
that's what a good interviewer does. That's what probing is.
It's designed specifically to make sure that you have a logically consistent worldview.
Will you let me finish?
Go ahead, finish.
Okay, the way you're doing it, by probing and arguing simultaneously, you're actually forcing me to and assisting me in shoring up my worldview at the same time that you're attacking it. Now, if I fail to do this in real time, you will get what is known as a dunk on me. You will be able to make it seem like I don't. You will be able to make it seem.
Yeah, anything like where he's doing this meta shit, Big Papa Fascist will just be like, no, I just think you're a fucking idiot. You know, he doesn't care about meta tools. For someone like Big Papa Fascist, you're either a fucking idiot who can handle him or you're not. You know what I mean? There's not like you're not gonna like reveal hidden truths to someone like this. Not in the moment. It is impossible to do that with this man, and it just has to do with his attitude going into these things and the goals that he seeks to achieve.
Like for your audience or for whoever else is watching.
Like you have to struggle against the guy, or he's just like calling you a fucking idiot to your face the whole time and saying everything doesn't matter, you know?
You showed up
This is, you know, I remember this guy just because he is like that. I specifically remember this guy now.
Or a hole in my thinking you showed me to be stupid or immoral or whatever it is you're going after. But the problem is that in your effort
it's kind of like big tech, kind of. But Big Papa Fascist isn't looking to like J-post and get kicked out.
To get the dunk, you're actually making me less likely to feel comfortable or enough of a interpersonal
That's how
connection
literally,
with you
Mr.
to say
Girl,
what I
that's how
actually
a
think.
fucking stupid person thinks about things.
Yeah, see?
Literally. What you're saying to me right now is if you find logical inconsistencies in the things that I'm saying, instead of me personally examining my worldview and changing it, I'm going to instead double down on it and fight you on it because I'm fucking dumb. That's literally how it's...
Yeah, he's using this weapon of like it's almost like how Americans conceptualize of conflict, especially traditionally, is straightening someone out with just like a strong argument, and then they just have to cave. So he tries to embody shit like that. And so if you come at him with like this fine meta argument, he's just going to say you're a fucking idiot who doesn't want to accept what a debate is, you know, because he sort of embodies this. Each of us has an idea of like what a debate is in the US, and this guy is that he's like that physical embodiment of a guy calling anything new just shit, staring at it funny and laughing. And that's an extremely useful attitude to go into a debate with if you just want to like embarrass your enemies. Like you'll get pull this off almost all of the time on Twitch. Like this will kind of work somewhere.
A stupid person does things.
Because Big Papa Fash is also he's like pretty smart too. He's not like a dumb guy, so he can just like find ways to do it.
You're assuming
just so you know.
You're assuming that everybody agrees with you, but
no. I'm assuming you don't agree with
you literally don't know what I'm saying. Just stop interrupting me.
Well, when you say something that's inaccurate, I say no. So,
in your example, you assumed that we both agreed that you had found a logical inconsistency. The problem with your approach is that I and many others in the panel, and probably many people in the audience, don't actually agree with you when you think you have found a logical inconsistency. Thus, I believe it is preferable, if your goal is to figure out my worldview, at least before you start trying to deconstruct it, I think probing questions in a more, I don't know, like warm or curious way would probably get you a lot further. And if your goal is to deconstruct it, I would advise...
No, it's just the fact that like we're all like internet personalities, and therefore we can't actually have like actual debate because it's all based on our reputations or the perception. I mean, kind of, but like I mean, it is true. It's all based on that.
So if you want to continue your current tack, that's fine. You try to tear my ideas apart as I'm saying them. I don't think that we're going to get as far. I don't think that I'm going to be able to flesh them out for you.
There's no way Mr. Girl Shit's going to work on Big Papa Fascist this directly.
I don't think you're going to even be able to understand. I don't think I'm going to be able to understand what my ideas are.
It's so insane, Max.
But that
makes no sense.
Yeah, like if you tell this guy, I don't even know if I'll be able to know what my ideas are, like with regards to like how like the meta shit and the debate works. Like he's just going to call you a fucking idiot, you know?
Nobody ever says
like that is just gonna be what he does over and over, is just say that's fucking dumb, and it sounds like what a fucking stupid person would say, and it's gonna make Max look bad for the audience.
Well, if you find holes in my logic, the reason you shouldn't find holes in my logic and make me actually be introspective and think about the things that I'm saying is because if you do, hang on, is because if you do that, I'm going to I'm going to shore these ideas up, no matter how false they might be or how many holes there might be in them.
I'm saying if people get defensive, that is generally how they respond.
Well, that's what stupid people do.
Here,
so what do I do?
Well, maybe I'm
if
stupid.
I can interject here,
if you want to know what I think, the more you try to take apart what I'm saying, the more likely I am to clam up or just start arguing with you or change the subject. And if you think I'm doing that because I'm well, yeah, I generally don't think, and I'm positive, like you genuinely seem like a smart person, and I'm guessing that in your personal life, in real life, you are probably pretty good at connecting to people if you want to. I know that you know this. I know that you know that if you want someone to be introspective or open up to you or be really honest about what they think, like the real dunk would be getting me to say that I believe something horrible. that I don't even know is horrible because I felt comfortable enough to say it. In real life, if you want somebody to open up like that, or just to have an interesting conversation, you can't start trying to take apart their sentence in the middle of it. That does not cause introspection. I know you know this.
It's probably true.
What you're saying? Hang on. What you're
no,
saying?
I mean,
is
like
absurd.
the best interviewers of all time are sort of like that, where they know how to create this vibe where people will just sort of riff on what the interviewer wants them to talk about.
On its face.
And it's usually, I mean, you can add some resistance and it helps like define the discussion, but you really do have to be open like that.
Okay, so I don't know what you have done professionally before you became an internet personality. Okay? But I work on machines. That's what I do. I'm a roboticist. That's all I do. Okay? It either works or it doesn't work. I don't have the time or the luxury to waste my time trying to figure out what your feelings are about whether it works or it doesn't work, or how you might clam up or not clam up based on what it is that you're seeing in front of you. It works or it doesn't work.
This is
so
LARP.
Either what you're saying makes sense or...
This is engineer LARP. Every engineer's like this, and it's because they're not smart enough to be like fucking physicists and mathematicians. They think everything they do is the real world.
Doesn't make...
It's just all LARP. The fucking like introspectiveness of a human being, ranging from a layman to a mathematician, is shaped like an hourglass. And in the middle, the least introspective part is engineers. They're just fucking idiots. They're always like that. They're like, it either works or it doesn't work. There is no nuance.
Makes sense. For me...
And you know, it's because they're like a jack of all trades. They didn't actually learn anything besides just like how to make a fucking robot or something.
From my perspective, you need to justify the things that you say because otherwise they make no sense. Why do I assume that everybody who's listening to you is... Hang on. Why do I need to assume that everybody who's listening to you is so stupid that they're completely unable to grasp the holes in your logic because you clam up when they're pointed out? That's insane, Max.
No, I'm not saying that...
I actually don't think... Well, I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the whole thing, like, word by word, and I'm not gonna fucking do that. But I don't think he's going for, like, a logical argument that you can pull apart quite in that way. But, you know, everyone comes in with their tools, and I think neither of these guys actually have the tools to make each other think a different way.
The problem is not that you're pointing out holes in my logic. The problem with one is that you're pointing them out before you really understand what the holes are, I think. Or you appear to be. Two, the way you're pointing them out comes across as virtue signaling. It doesn't come across as being like, well, if that's true, then what about this? You know, like actually a genuine challenge that I might actually be interested. And like, I'm not really set on abortion. This is actually a topic.
You know, one thing I do have to give to Mr. Girl though, it's impressive how he keeps taking these assaults and just keeps saying shit back at him. Maybe he can get to him. I don't know.
You tailor everything to how Max feels.
I don't think so.
This is a topic where you actually could genuinely probably change my mind or move the needle somewhat. And you...
But I'm not going to do it because you didn't say it right, Andy. Right, Max?
I just think you're virtue signaling.
Andrew, Andrew, can I ask you, Andrew, what was your last attack on Max's actual?
There was no
It kind of is a virtue signal. Because logical consistency is not everything, and I like know mathematical logic and like philosophy. I know all that shit. Yeah, like pretty acutely too. And just like I don't know, Mr. Girl doesn't put his arguments in a way where it's usually assailable by logic quite in the way he means, and so it does sort of come off as virtue signaling towards the standard that is sort of like traditional American debate or something like that, which is not what Mr. Girl wants to do. And so like this sort of deconstructionist attitude, meta attitude Mr. Girl has, it sort of doesn't make sense to even like approach it with like a direct logical accusation like that, in my opinion. Because at least the parts that I caught, I don't actually think he caught Mr. Girl on logic like he thinks he has.
Wanted him to tell me when there was when it was called Human Life, and he said human life begins.
But visually, via a normal audience, what Big Papa Fascist is doing would probably be successful.
Conception, which created a follow-up question of me saying, well, then why is it okay to kill it at conception if you consider it a human life? And that's when he went on his diatribe about how I need to frame everything in a way that's comfortable.
You can
for
do
Max.
whatever you want. I'm just saying I don't think you're doing a good job of whatever it is you're trying to do, unless you're trying to virtue signal, in which case you're doing a fucking fantastic job. But carry on. I will submit to your questioning. Go on. Right. Yes, it is.
Right. Why debate? Why debate anything, Max? I mean, why?
So Andrew, with your definition,
I don't think you're good at debating. I'm not saying that you shouldn't debate. I'm saying that you should do a better job of it. But if you want to continue your current tack, go ahead.
Andrew,
I will engage with you.
Your biological, your human life thing, is this a biological or philosophical human life you're talking about?
Biological.
Okay, so hair cells are part of the human species, right?
Yeah.
They're biologically alive, right? Do you think it's morally unjustified?
Okay, this is getting into some good shit, because I actually know a bunch of this shit. I mean, compared to these fucking people, well, no, then again, Bryce reads a lot. The lady in the middle, I think, probably does. So I don't want to undermine them too much or anything, but I do know a decent amount about, like, medical ethics and, like, how to think of life and all that shit. And I don't think biologically human life matters. I don't give a shit about that. You know, like a conjoined twin that you have to cut off of somebody so they live a normal life, that's like biologically human. I don't give a fuck about that. A tumor may even be biologically human. That doesn't matter. It really is about what makes a human a person. Because a human is just a species thing, you know? I don't give a fuck about that.
Sure. But before we get into any of that, when do you think
a hair cell's not going to grow into a fucking person?
Yeah, well, when do you think that
it's not philosophical human life?
When do you think a human life begins?
Human life philosophically would begin sometime when consciousness begins, and biologically.
Yeah, but you can't define consciousness. Like, we've been through this.
You don't have to define consciousness. We know that there's some.
You don't have to define consciousness.
He just tried to compare a hair to an embryo, and you're fine with it. But the reason you're fine with it.
Yeah, you don't have to define consciousness. What you have to define is what people consider enough evidence for consciousness. You don't have to define consciousness. That's a massive red herring. Like, that's like an ancient red herring. That might be centuries old.
It's because
that doesn't even mean anything. We don't even really try to do that much anymore.
Friends, you know each other, and you.
No, that's not the reason I'm fine with it. Is because
I promise you that
this worldview.
Okay, ask me.
That's why.
Let's walk through this, and I promise that my responses will make more sense than comparing an embryo to a hair cell.
I mean, I think that's fair. But what I'm saying to you is
that I'm on your side.
Yeah. So just to go through this, I just want to know, when do you think life begins? Human life.
At conception.
Well, then why are you okay with killing it, Max?
Human life begins at conception, of course. It just doesn't fucking matter. It matters what we consider a person, in my opinion. Or else you just get stuck in these weird traps, in my opinion. But we'll see what they say.
Because it's a one-celled organism.
Okay, so if it was a multi-celled organism, you would be fine? Or you wouldn't be fine?
It depends on how many cells. The more cells you add, the less fine I am. Yeah.
How many cells?
Well, I don't know how many cells there are in a human body. I assume something.
Just say
my point is that at some point.
Yeah, this is why we deconstruct it back, though, Max. We deconstruct it back.
You will never gain progress on this question if we first have to either define consciousness or we define the answer to the question to have to do when the human life begins. It just won't make any fucking sense. The human life begins as soon as, like, the genes are ready. You know, to me, like, that's sort of like the causal chain. I guess maybe the first cell that's produced via the new genes. I guess that's when the human life begins. But that doesn't matter because it's readily available that the sanctity of a body isn't that big of a deal if it's not a person. It's pretty common throughout large parts of the world to be able to pull the plug on people who exhibit no like life features as a person should. We really do not think of the body specifically. We are concerned with bodies because in our day-to-day life, every person has one. But it's not the sanctity of the body, it's the sanctity of the person's body. You know what I mean? So I always think this is like a worthless little trap. It's like this weird shit that conservatives usually like to pull you into because they're the ones that are sort of concerned about like souls or whatever. Yeah, I think the way that's being framed right now, I feel like it's just been like solved away from that. We're dealing in other things now, like brain life and brain death.
Because you can't.
I don't. Okay,
real quick.
Okay, listen. I'm going to ignore that you're being extremely condescending, and I'm going to explain.
Because you can't.
I'm going to just repeat myself. I'm going to
doesn't mean that the threshold doesn't exist. Like there's
I'm just going to repeat what I said at the beginning. Anytime a woman aborts or doesn't abort a child, you're either murdering a baby or forcing a woman to have a baby she doesn't want. I think we can all agree on this. And now leftists are going to say, well, no, it's not a baby, it's just a clump of cells.
Don't agree. There's thousands of organizations developed by Christians where if you were to come to a Eastern Orthodox parish, a Protestant
birth
church,
a baby. When I say have a baby, I mean give birth to.
And you drop the kid off.
Wait, he doesn't want you to build a straw man
out of your fucking vagina first.
Yeah, he's not getting it. He said you have to have the fucking kid.
He doesn't want you to build.
I need to turn that back to see fucking Mr. Girl's reaction again.
And you drop the kid off.
Wait, he doesn't want you to build a straw man
out of your fucking vagina first.
He doesn't want you to build a straw man.
Yeah, it's gotta come out of the person first, right?
Not arguing the
They don't drop the kid off then have it. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
forcing of raising the child. He's already
I'm
acknowledging
arguing birthing the child. One of two things has to happen: the child either has to come out of the vagina or out of a cesarean section, or the child has to die. Those are the only two outcomes when you're pregnant. So conservatives will say, well, no, it's murder from the moment of conception, and liberals will say, no, it's a clump of cells until it comes out of my vagina and has a name.
It's only murder from the time of conception if we consistently also want no one to ever have the like plug pulled on them. Maybe, probably, I would have to say you should have to hold some sort of consistency or come up with some sort of argument for why you don't have to do that.
I think both positions are extremely dishonest.
I agree with you on that.
Especially because
my position is that it's
even today a lot of early conception life does not live to be born. You know, it's really that simple. Like, if we want to say that the life begins at conception and then that's sacred, well, you know, it still has like a 50% chance to die at that point. So it seems kind of arbitrary, right? You would think that you would at least start at some sort of further level of viability, but, you know, they'll just argue you down on that.
That it's both.
They'll just keep pushing on you by calling you like a murderer or whatever.
Both are horrible. forcing a woman to give birth to you can laugh, but
what the fuck are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense, man.
Do you want me
it's
to?
both murder, but not murder.
I'm in between. Finish. Do you want me to finish what I'm saying?
Go ahead, finish, Mr. Girl. It's just absurd.
Oh, well, yes. Let me finish my absurd answer to your question.
Go ahead.
To some degree, aborting a 1 second old embryo is murder. Obviously, that embryo has the capacity to grow up and to be a human, and it already is a human. It's a one-celled human, but it is a human, and therefore
it has human DNA. I don't know if it's a human, but it has human DNA.
It is murder. At the same time, saying that you can't do that, given most people's relationships with one-celled organisms, is also a little absurd. And I can understand that. I can understand both views, and I think they're both right. On the other end, telling a woman who's going to give birth in 5 minutes that she can't have an abortion, I think is pretty reasonable. It's pretty insane to say, like, well, no, it's just a fetus. It's not a person, because it's only its foot is sticking out of my vagina.
It hasn't drawn breath yet.
It hasn't drawn breath yet, so we can kill it. Like, that's obviously not true. Obviously, everyone would agree that it's murder. So we have a spectrum. Let me fucking finish. So we have a spectrum. Obviously, Obviously, we have a spectrum from conception to birth where both sides have their strong opinions. The furthest right and furthest left you are, the more willing you're going to be to say, like, well, yeah, if it's 5 minutes from now, it's not murder. Okay, but most people, I think, are somewhere in the middle where there's an uncomfortable, and we don't like thinking about this because it's disturbing to think of us just kind of like, you know, appearing out of nothing, or some clump that you don't care about turning into like your fucking son. But at some point, everybody has a line where they draw in the sand and they say, okay, after this point, I'm not okay with it. A lot of people draw that line at conception. I understand that, and maybe you are one of those people.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's your fucking opinion, don't have abortions then. But the issue is they want everyone else to abide by this, like, voodoo bullshit, you know? This, like, idea of, like, it's life matters, but we all know the conservatives secretly mean they're, like, souls because they're, like, theocrats and shit.
I think most people draw it somewhere in the middle, and wherever you draw it, everyone to the right of you is going to say...
Yeah, I mean... Like, I think... You know, some of the... We'll just let them continue, and I'll expound more. I just don't like some of the arguments so far. They're a little boring. Except for Mr. Girl. He's always great.
Well, you're a murderer, and everyone to the left of you is going to say you're enslaving women.
And
yeah, but nobody...
Well, Max here,
but nobody asked you...
Let me try.
Regardless of where we well, actually, you did, because you were asking where his threshold was.
No, so to be specific again, one more time, right, with Max over here. So what I asked you is, when does life begin? And your answer was at conception. Yes. And then you said there's a degree to which it's murder. Well, what degree to which is it murder? And no, Max's answer is going to be... No, you said to a degree it's murder.
I don't understand what you're not understanding about his answer. It seems pretty...
Yeah, basically... I mean, it seemed okay. Like, I understood it. I just... You know, I would be interested in him explaining more, but then again, he already talked a shitload, so...
Well, he's virtue signaling. He's pretending what everybody does.
Okay, so they're just yelling at each other. My main issue is really the framing it in terms of life, and then framing that with the terms of then destroying any of that life is bad. I think that's fucking dumb. You know, I don't think that's really how people look at it, unless you're like really Christian or something, or just like a jack-off conservative. You know, we really do think about the person, not just the body. And so I see them going nowhere because they're probably going to loop on this issue of, like, someone's unfortunately biting the bullet on life and just continuing to talk about life, when what you need to be talking about is, like, what's important, which is the living fucking person. You know, the shit going on in the head. So this is just nonsense. They're just gonna keep giving each other shit right now.
Because you're pretending to not fucking understand. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Let me put it this way. What do you think?
He's being a little dense. Mr. Girl's being a little obscure.
Real quick. What do you think the punishment should be? What do you think the punishment should be for a woman who gets who takes a morning after pill?
I want to ask a question. I
want to walk through why I think you're. I want to answer your question. Why do I think you're virtue signaling? What do you think the punishment should be for a woman who takes a morning after pill and successfully aborts a embryo?
Wait, hold up. The morning after pill is.
Uh-oh. Is it gonna crash on me? What's going on?
What do you think?
Hold on, real quick.
What do you think the punishment should be? What do you think the punishment should be for a woman who gets an abortion?
Oops.
After pill and successfully aborts a embryo.
Wait, hold up. The morning after pill is.
What the fuck? Goddamn internet. Why is it not loading more of this video? Fucking YouTube.
hold on, real quick.
What do you think
real
the
quick.
punishment should be? What do you think the punishment should be for a woman who gets who takes a morning after pill?
I want to ask a question. I do.
No, I want to walk through why I think you're. I want to answer your question. Why do I think you're virtue signaling? What do you think the punishment should be for a woman who takes a morning after pill and successfully aborts a embryo?
Wait, hold up.
What the fuck? Come on. Oh, looks like I gotta watch something else because YouTube is not working for me.
What do you think the punishment should?
Contraceptive.
There we go.
It stops the pregnancy
well, it terminates the pregnancy. Pregnancy.
It doesn't terminate the pregnancy because. Wait a minute. We have to get the science right here, guys. Okay, the morning after pill is basically like.
What the fuck? Come on. How is technology this shitty? My stream's running just fine. Why the fuck is YouTube doing this? Fucking garbage. I live in America and I can't even watch a motherfucking YouTube video. They invented this fucking website in America. Fucking bullshit. How the fuck is my internet working and YouTube isn't working? It's like the thing that always works. Holy shit, this makes me so fucking mad.
It stops the pregnancy
well, it terminates the pregnancy.
It doesn't terminate the pregnancy because. Wait a minute. We have to get the science right here, guys.
It's not even
okay?
science. It's just a fucking definition. And also, I consider it an abortion. Yeah, it's just making me mad because I want to watch it. It's just getting good, and the fucking thing won't load. And watching fucking Big Papa Fast just call Mr. Girl an idiot over and over and over again so they would get to a real point of conflict. I gotta get some more water. Oh, I might have to find something on Twitch to watch for a minute until YouTube starts loading better. I guess we could see what's going on in the panel.
Sounds like a weird tumult. I don't
wait, that's not the panel.
After pill is basically like concentrated birth control.
No, don't fucking cuck me like this. It's like blue balling me. It's like, look, the fucking video exists, you just can't watch it. Okay. We'll watch. We'll go back to this for a minute.
Room and somebody asked me.
Yeah.
No, we'll check on the panel.
Yeah, I
Fuck
don't know. I just didn't feel.
Let's see. See how the panel's going.
Make gay jokes. Okay. Like, what do you want to do here?
Wait. Only up to what
CCTV's there.
Hold on. BPF seems really, really uncomfortable with.
CTV wasn't there before. Who? Oh, he replaced Stardust. It looks like.
Fixation of bringing things to your lips, such as you just did, right?
Like, if she comes on, maybe I'll stay.
Like, there's not
if she doesn't,
Would it be an oral fixation to go after pussy the same way, CTV? Or is it only dicks in your mind because that's all you think about?
Oh no, I think it's.
Is it only dicks because that's what you think about, brother?
Oh yeah, it's pretty funny. He's like a pretty funny guy.
What's your CTV? It's the bestest thing ever in my house full of my little doggies. I just have to get my hands on the big old dick and suck on it.
Wow. Hold on. So we go from dicks to pussies to bestiality with BPF. Fucking wow.
I can't. How can I push for Keffels to join?
Right there.
Yeah. How can I push for her to join? It's up to her.
I agree. Stop. Okay. Yeah. Everyone here likes sucking dick. We don't need to argue.
Base,
including BPF.
Well,
yeah, obviously,
especially BPF.
Don't worry about
God.
it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's going pretty
Everyone
good.
likes it. So, leaving that aside, okay, the dick discussion.
I mean, I came back and the vibe seems to be okay. So,
that's unlikely to be resolved. Is there anything else burning a hole in the back of your mind?
I love Vosh.
To IRI.
No.
Yeah, I'd like to know why you guys are dicking around on Twitter in the middle of a panel. Is this so boring that you guys are paying attention to Twitter drama? What's going on? Are we? Is this not entertaining?
Wow,
Well,
all right.
okay.
Are you trying to say that you need to have a problem right now?
Wait,
Because
who's
I
on
can
Twitter
give
right
you
now?
the biggest fucking
Alright, this-
problem you ever had, IRI. I'll fucking give it to you, bro.
I find it.
Wait, I have a question.
You guys are so overwhelmed with some drama, and meanwhile, while you're on a panel, what's going on here?
Wait, I have a question. Like genuinely, Vosh, since you don't like really engage with like the
Abortion
Twitch
pill
politics
or getting
space, like
The morning after
broadly,
pill.
because
okay.
it's cancer. What is your?
I think it might be
What is
loading.
your kind of take
Yeah.
after hearing all of the different takes from everyone?
Okay, I don't give a shit about that. Let's see.
Hey, wait a minute!
You're
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! We have to get the science right here, guys.
Nope, it wasn't. Son of a bitch. But yeah, okay, my take is we talked about that already. My take is basically we should just consider destroying an implanted egg, an egg that's just mid-implanting even though it has like a 50% chance of dying after that. We should just consider it an abortion in my opinion. Just to like protect everything, you know. Just give them blanket protection for all of that shit. Because it seems like something they're gonna go after anyways, and if you go by their previous politics, it just seems like it.
Disagreements.
I don't see any way to
enjoy
get
that very
around
much,
it.
but it's this adjacent stuff, which is
And plus, it gets away. It fixes a little bit the issue of never knowing when life begins. At least the Supreme Court seems pretty dead set on not wanting to determine that.
said after I ended that call was that was fun. I'm never talking to him again. And the reason for that is because while I did find the call itself fun, and obviously the video is really funny, there's just something really you know, when you always have a knife in your hand, you always have to be looking out for your back, you know? It's one of the reasons I don't engage that much with other content creators. Even people I trust and have talked with plenty, like Dylan, you know? The more you engage with someone, the more mutual investment there is that can be catapulted into space off a bad interaction. So I don't like drama that much to the extent that I participate in it. And I do think that the online left could be improved dramatically if there was more of a, you know, lock arms attitude towards political.
I don't give a fuck about Vosh's opinion. I want to see other people argue, or him argue.
I contribute to an extent. So
I already know what
I
his
just think
fucking
it's
opinion is.
It's a balancing act.
Did Mike
Yeah.
ever reach out to you to have a second conversation?
No, he never reached out after that.
The feeling was mutual, huh?
That I remember at least.
What about the fucking viewers? There's always the content creators getting in there. The viewers are there like pigs at the trough, gobbling up the slop that we give them.
Oh,
Fuck the
any
viewers as
person
well.
that says that they don't like the drama is fucking lying. Every single fucking
Drama's
person,
pretty base.
every single fucking person is on this panel right now has seen a increase in viewership as a result of drama,
Okay.
and they know that those.
I better stop restreaming shit or I'm gonna get in trouble. Let's see. We'll go back to do Chud.
From some kind of drama
Chud's
posting.
video.
So
And
anyone
I
that
don't-
says the viewers don't like it is a fucking liar.
The viewers will always go for drama more than anything else. I could.
It was starting to get pretty weird in the
walk into
video
a
here.
room and
Oops.
Honestly, I didn't know exactly.
Okay, the morning after pill is basically like concentrated birth control, and when you
It did it again. It's just cucking me.
You engaged with him than how I engaged with him. I do think I'm gonna have maybe a little bit more reflection on like how to make my content, maybe. I'm sorry, that last half blew me away. Holy fuck. Dude, I literally just got up. I just left.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Jesus
I left for a
Christ.
bit.
I was wondering why you weren't coming in there. I figured you might if you were like had something to say.
Yeah, no, I stepped away. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yo, he stepped away. Whoop. Oh, my shit's all frozen. But he says he stepped away. But didn't he say during the panel that he needed to go to the bathroom or some shit? He didn't say then that he stepped away because he didn't know what to say.
That was a pretty it was sleeper as fuck too, the conversation beforehand, and then like
I mean, it was
like, yeah, he's being kind of inconsistent here because I thought during the panel he was like, oh, I use the bathroom. Now he's saying here he just didn't know what to do.
that tweet. I got that tweet, and I'm just like, what is this?
It was productive beforehand, but I mean, yeah, I think it can be considered boring. I think it's more of a conversation I would have off stream than a conversation I would usually have on stream. So this Friday's roundtable, you excited?
Yeah, it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one.
Okay, let's skip ahead.
Intent was. Maybe that's why you're not looking for the
I want to see when Chud discusses it.
That, you know?
Yeah.
So he's kind of just put thrusters in front of him and gone, right, to talk about that.
Yeah.
Riseman's obliged, probably expecting some sort of, you know, backup or whatever. And
right.
It's just left him to flounder.
At least my chat's way better than his. In what way? I just hate. Oh my god, I hate.
Wait.
That.
As a mock, to be fair, Rysam shouldn't have agreed to do some dirty shit. It kind of bit him in the ass. Okay, if you are looking at this and your first thought is, well, Rysam shouldn't have agreed to do it, you're fucking mental.
Yeah, I mean, when they were, it seemed like they were both going to talk to him about it, and then all of a sudden Rhizome had to talk to him for like 5 or 10 minutes straight.
There's nothing wrong with, like, you know, engaging with a bit of spice. The problem is Dylan's dishonesty. That's the fucking issue in all of this.
Yeah.
I hate that. Oh my god, I'm so upset with how that went, guys.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'd be kind of upset too, because if you like spend time in Rhizomes, you kind of know how he will act if he feels justified. Because he knows when he's justified, you know what I mean? So it kind of seemed like he was like sort of wheeling backwards that whole discussion.
We're funnier, sure.
Ugh.
I mean, we can definitely joke more. I agree with that. Less libbed up. Is that true?
I didn't know Happy Dipper was this serious. Well, no, it's not like super serious, but the whole point is Dylan is saying he doesn't... Okay, let's go listen to what Dylan said the first time round.
Right.
And let's show off Captain Sniffy's fan art as well, while we're here. God, it's so annoying. I've still got to keep it down late at night.
Now, it does suck for him. In my apartment, my apartment's really big, and so one of the big problems is that the fucking AC and heat cost so much money. So it like offsets the fact that the apartment is surprisingly cheap for how big it is. But my apartment, yeah, I mean, no, I just have one room. It's not very big, trust me. But the whole apartment, for some reason, is really big. I just use my room, so it's not as if it's baller over here. But for like the whole ass apartment, because I think they converted it from a house, is like big. So like I can be basically as loud as I want because I just have this corner where I put a bunch of like dampening stuff to like stop the echo, and I can be screaming at the top of my lungs and no one can hear me. So I feel bad because Chud lives he probably lives in like, I don't know where he lives. If he lives anywhere near London, the housing prices are so insane you probably just can't find anywhere big. Yeah. So this is like, first of all, it's Chicago. Second of all, it's not really close to downtown. It's really close to UIC, the school I go to, and first of all, they have like a program, so this housing is just cheaper, and then because it's like UIC is a state school, so this is like owned by some other people, like an outside building manager, but it's like cheaper for some reason because we're students and shit. And so it's actually pretty reasonably priced. I only paid like $800 or $900 total to live here per month. I think it's like $820 or some shit, which is pretty good. It's not that bad. And then I'm going to move to Columbus, Ohio, and that's even cheaper. Like that's even better than Chicago, I think. So I just, I've never had to live in like a fucking city with just like those nightmare prices before.
Look at this. The bed blob. We have the first arse impression of the bed blob.
Okay,
So
bed blob.
It'll be alright.
Yep. Is he gonna discuss it more? Is that it?
Actually, I know. The other day when he posted that shit in the Discord, I was just about to ban him. I don't know really why I did. I felt gross to watch. Can't imagine. I just was pushed. I'm not pushed. It's just like peer pressure. I don't know. It's not even pressure. I don't even want to like say it was pressure. It's just like,
Yeah, that was weird. Watching that, I was.
What's this? Oh, this is a timestamp, I think.
I was surprised with how long it was. What I was thinking is that this went down in like 30 seconds. But fucking Rhizome was arguing with this guy for like 5 or 10 minutes or something.
Literally. Dylan DM'd me saying, wanna drop a grenade? I sent back, haha, what you thinking? And yes. And he said, ask him about doubting my suicide attempt on Twitter. Say you saw... I'll leave the rest of that out.
Okay.
And then I said, do I need the tweet for the context? He gave me an idea of what the tweet looked like. I found it, and then I went in.
Okay.
Is that clear enough for you guys? Like...
Like, literally specifically said to him, ask about this.
That's shitty. That's lame. Okay, let's check on the other thing.
Having, open-minded critical discussions around social issues and things that we're interested in.
Is this Dylan talking to Rhizome? Or Dylan watching the Rhizome video?
Dynamics of shit. But I can't just, like, go off and, like, pull up random content and do whatever the fuck I want at this point because I'm really just, like, getting my feet wet in the space. But I think that you can structure content in a way that it fits what you're doing, and it will have an afterlife because you can put it on your YouTube or something. And it doesn't have to be around the fucking Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial or the...
Yeah. Mean Cuisine's right. This is an example of why it's not a good idea to try and grow an audience in Twitch poll with a goal to transition into an actual government body.
Up.
Dylan's goals are unobtainable, not because of the individuals that have attempted it, but because of the incentives of both worlds being incompatible. Yeah, I really agree with that.
And
I'll just have to steal more of Chet's content.
You have your own ability to do your own thing at this point. I bet your fans want that more, to be real.
I do think to an extent, like, comparative to most of the people in this space, I do think I have more sovereignty. If I just wanted to play... I remember I said on Twitter, like, I'm going to be playing all the Metro.
Dylan is kind of playing up a bit of a shit heel act, I feel like. I feel like he is putting it on kind of thick. I don't know. I don't know what to think, because... Yeah.
While I'm in Ukraine. I'm going to see if I can stream it, because I thought, like, just me personally... If there's anywhere in the world I wanted to play, and I've always wanted to play all the Metro games they want to stream, if there was ever a perfect opportunity to do it, where I'm like, hey guys, due to, missiles, I can't go out of my house today. I'm not going to make the same money, and I'm definitely still trying to make back all the money from, like...
Your personal, and from, like, me to whoever I'm talking to or whoever I'm, like, interacting with. And I'm not really seeking to, like, magnify that. But if I were, the way that I engage could be a huge issue. Absolutely.
I remember we were doing some street interviews with some refugees and volunteers, and somebody walked up
to us. And my translator was talking to them, trying to explain what I was doing. And I saw he like pulled up my YouTube channel, was showing some things, and I just hear the words "hippy dippy championship" come out of a stranger's mouth, right? And I'm gonna be honest, while it's cool that like more people are being introduced to that, because I care a lot about it, when I'm doing something like this and I think about somebody like watching CTV versus Destiny, when I'm trying to do a serious documentary about like a war where people are dying, and I'm thinking about CTV being like, y'all, the drug war needs to, like, oh my god, like I feel like it's something that could be holding me back from like people. Like
I tell you what, that's like that's so God, I didn't even comment on this the first time. I feel like that's such a like a slight towards CTV as well. Like CTV is like put so much into like making the hippy dippy what it is today.
Chud does have some real
Do you know what I
feels
mean?
about
And then
this
it's-
whole thing with like Dylan and how he's been acting and shit.
Like, oh, I think
It's really interesting because I didn't necessarily see it like that until some other people like Chud started talking about it. But it is kind of true. He has been talking about this stuff repetitively for a while. I think a lot of it is also due to all the shit he's been getting, but it's a lot. Like, he really does seem to have a fucking problem, apparently.
The way CTV is.
Not like, you know, just a problem with the space or something. Or how he can come off with being so integral to the space.
Essentially is holding me back now. Like, bro, CTV is like a massive contributor to your success.
honestly understand somebody looking into me.
Chat, throw Dylan some takes.
So did Chud just like spend a bunch of time shitting on Dylan? Let's see, let's skip ahead.
I'd have half the
Mr.
view.
Ego, okay. He's fine, but he's not like.
You need to interview more Eastern Ukrainians. Every
You in?
Chud is just fucking obsessed with Dylan. Jesus,
dude.
What's going on?
But like, whenever I turn in,
wait, I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Let's see.
Let me see here. Maybe I can send you a link.
Okay, so the whole thing wasn't.
send me a
Oh,
link
right,
and I'll
right.
put
They
it
were
in chat
talking
and I'll
about
get
the
someone to
thing.
follow you.
The debate. Okay. Okay, I think it's going.
Be inconsistent, and so therefore
It is logically inconsistent.
So
I'm not saying it's
wouldn't-
not.
So
Again,
therefore, hang on.
keep-
So that
should be the same. If we're going by
Yes,
purely logic,
yes,
if
if
we're
it
going by
was
pure logic,
yeah.
after pill and successfully aborts a embryo.
Wait, hold up. The morning after pill is not the same as an abortion pill or getting an
the morning
abortion. I think
after
that's a
pill
really
is
important
a-
distinction.
yeah.
It's a form of emergency contraceptive. It
Okay,
stops
just-
the pregnancy
Well, it
before
terminates the
it
pregnancy.
Okay, yeah. This depends on your definition of pregnancy. And I don't know what I actually don't know what the common definition that people like this might use. I should, I think.
It doesn't terminate the pregnancy because
I don't know if pregnancy for them is once the egg has been fertilized and sort of, you know, begins to implant on the womb or on the uterine wall.
Wait a minute. We have to get the science right here, guys, okay? The morning after pill is basically like concentrated birth control. And when you take it, it prevents a fertilized egg from implanting in the wall. Implanting.
Oh, so it fits exactly with my idea is talking about implanting. So it really does even work with mine. Cool.
Is where a lot of people.
I didn't know that. That's perfect. So then it isn't abortion, even by my definition.
The egg is already fertilized.
No,
and
it
I
can
believe...
also prevent the fertilization
Okay,
of an egg.
if the egg is
So-
fertilized in the fucking hypothetical, let's say the egg is fertilized, and therefore Andrew and I will both agree that it is in fact a person. If a woman takes a morning after...
No, I don't... Well... I think I prefer once the fertilized egg has began implanting on like the uterine wall or whatever, because that's the first that is absolutely necessary for the next stages, which are once again we're even starting kind of early in my opinion, because there's still a big chance that that egg will not end up viable. But yeah,
pill.
I think it's a little far. I don't think a fertilized egg is a human life. I mean, it may have begun production of cells in order to, like, you know, go through like cell growth and everything like that, or growing of multiple cells, but I think for like the technicalities of how to deal with it in any practical way, you shouldn't consider that a human life.
Andrew, what do you think her punishment?
Like it's just too abstract. Because then at that point, why don't we just consider the two halves, you know, the two individual like sex cells to be human lives? Why aren't individual cells human lives? You know what I mean?
Punishment should be.
So this is a fantastic question.
So like if I lose a toe, am I, until the toe finally dies, two separate humans, and then I go back to being a human after the toe dies? Like, it kind of doesn't make sense to me.
And so I guess at this point, I'll try to humanize myself a bit for you, because it seems like I can't logically connect with anything. Okay? So I've had this dispute myself with friends of mine who are great abortion advocates, and said if there was an egg that was fertilized and it fell on the ground, I would give it less consideration than I would for a baby who was sitting next to the egg. I think that you're right that probably most people would do that, but it's still inconsistent.
Will you answer my question?
I am answering your question. How is that not an answer? There wouldn't be a punishment.
Let me repeat the question.
I wouldn't punish him.
Okay, what do you think the punishment should be?
I mean, I wish he had let him finish, because I don't know what he's gauging consistency with, but it's perfectly consistent if you set up anything approaching like a practical system that has like caveats. It's not just like something that Plato could have came up with 2,000 years ago. I think it would be, I don't think it's inconsistent in general. I don't think it's at all inconsistent to incorporate in your morality and law the two things that basically matter here, like ways to deal with the fact that just a fertilized egg does not hold like the what we get, or it does not hold the thing that requires us to feel obligated to its life. You know what I mean? It's so abstract at that point that we might as well consider individual cells of our own bodies to have that same right. I think it doesn't make sense at that point. So, I mean, on some scientific level, like defining it in terms of its species, it is part of human life, I guess, but it's so out there. You know what I mean? I'm not even sure how many eggs get fertilized over the process of making the average baby. You know what I mean? So we can't possibly afford it the full weight of a human being in any moral system, I think.
For a woman taking a 9-month-old,
and science doesn't tell us anything about morality, like what we should do about babies and human lives. That's all philosophy.
Baby and throwing in a river.
Of course, she would have to go to prison or any number of whatever punishments were necessary.
Okay, so we agree then logically.
Well, wait a second. We weren't using logic. If you want to get back to logic, we can do that.
I'm not bringing it back to logic. Let me fucking finish my sentence.
Okay, go ahead.
Logically, if we are going just on murdering a human life as how we deal with or grapple with the question of abortion, the punishment should be the same. If we're going purely logic, if we're going by pure logic, but we're not going by pure logic because our relationship to how we weigh who lives and who dies.
I agree. There is an intuit factor to it. Yes.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is that people when hyper-partisan people talk about abortion, and maybe this is like almost everybody, they tend to ignore one of these two factors in sort of how we engage with the topic. And so the answer to your question of why I think you're virtue signaling is when you say, "What's the difference, Max? What's the fucking if it's a baby, if the difference is how we feel. The difference is honestly is how we feel about
it. Feelings. That's what I think. So it's not a virtue signal then. It was me trying to get the answer out of you that actually made the most sense. This is how Max feels.
No, you were clearly
where's the virtue signal?
Because you feel the same way.
I do, but I'm willing to say it's logically inconsistent, and so therefore
it is logically inconsistent. I'm not saying it's not.
I mean, logically inconsistent with what? I mean, yeah, I guess if you consider no one goes by DNA. You know, like we are not obligated to life in any system of law, and no practical system of morality to have any obligation to just like something with the same DNA. So, you know, I sort of reject this idea that it's life that we protect, but the person, which is not necessarily the same as just a living part of a human, you know? Or else you get into like this weird abstract shit, like you cut off your hand and that's a human and you're a human and blah blah blah. Like it doesn't, you know.
I'm agreeing with you.
We're obligated at some point to something that has a high chance of survival and isn't part of like this stochastic biological process that hasn't even made a person yet. Like we don't have an obligation to a stochastic process going on in that way.
Feelings, I would buy.
So I'm describing a position that you 100% agree with, and you have to fucking ask me about it in this contemptuous, passive-aggressive way, like I'm call me a retard when you agree with me.
I said that I'm willing to concede on the intuit level.
If I'm a retard and you agree with me, then what does that say about
That's not an agreement with you, Max. Listen to what I'm saying to you.
Okay, when do you think...
Now, what I'm saying is that if my worldview that I intuit is different, and I come up with something different than what's logically consistent, I reject what is intuitive because it's not logical. Why do you not understand this?
Because I can probably come up with a counterexample of where...
Now, then come up with one.
Okay, if a woman takes a morning after pill and aborts a 1-day-old embryo, do you think she should go to jail?
Not right now, no.
But it's not logical. Why don't you tune up your moral compass?
Well, no, it is
spinning
logical.
wildly. These women should be going to the fucking
Max,
gas chamber.
The law of the land
they?
right now is that
these women taking these morning after pills logically should be going to jail for life. They murdered somebody.
Max, what's the law of the land right now?
What do you think it should be?
Okay, so logically, I would have to say that if you were to reject a pregnancy, even the day after, that yes, you should be arrested for that for murder.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is just like lunkhead shit that doesn't even make sense. It's just like return to monkey shit because, you know, there's when you have a system that just says there's the DNA there and the thing is like has cells, so we are obliged to protect it. Then that also precludes forms of intelligence that aren't human, right? So then they just don't matter too. So just like nothing but the DNA of something matters? I don't understand that. Because it's not a person, right? Yeah, dolphins don't fucking matter. Nothing smart matters unless it has human DNA. That doesn't make any fucking sense. No one really thinks like that. That's like weird conservative thinking. Like I feel like he's just like some engineer who like didn't get a good education, because a lot of engineers don't, besides like their dumb engineering shit or whatever, you know. I'm not trying to insult people, but like they don't get a liberal arts education, so they don't have to read anything but like engineering books. And I think that's what's going on right now, because I do like way fucking harder shit than robotics. And, you know, I can still understand other ethical systems and shit. It didn't, like, destroy my brain or something. Well, working on fucking robots?
Okay, so do you think...
That doesn't impress me.
That should be the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's the only thing that would logically make
It sounds
sense.
like some easy shit. Are you kidding?
Well, let me remind you of when I asked you this question. Please don't run interference for him, because this is important that I get this out. Let me remind you when I asked you the same exact question. I asked you the same exact question not 5 minutes ago.
You're right.
Pedro, I asked you the same question.
If this guy can't understand the way other people discuss shit, then, I mean, he just needs to read more books, I think. It is pretty interesting to see Mr. Grill get mad, though. I think he might... I don't know what's going on. We gotta keep track of him to see if it's like a trick or if he is actually starting to get upset.
Question
You're
5
right,
minutes
you did.
ago.
Hang on, let him finish.
I asked you the same question 5 minutes ago. And I said,
Okay, calm back down. So it is all just his performance.
what do you think the punishment should be? And you said, I don't think she should be...
Well, I was basing that on current law, Max.
Oh, so you misheard me. You thought I said, what do you think the punishment is for a woman taking the morning after pill?
No,
for a
you
second,
said should
you
be
thought,
right now.
You were thought I was consulting you as my legal consultant, asking you if it's punishable by life in prison to take a morning after pill.
I'm telling you
now
the
you're just
logical.
informing.
So I'm telling you the intuit version, and I'm telling you the logical version. And logically,
what the fuck?
What? I asked you what?
Logical what? What? How is it logical? And that like triggers the shit out of me because I know a decent amount of logic, like formal logic, like way fucking more than any layman. Like it's pretty hard actually. So like logically consistent with what? Is it like something where you're saying we have some obligation to protect human DNA organisms? Like what the fuck?
What you think.
Okay, so
your answer of what you personally believe, what you think should, what you think should, what you.
I don't think either of them are making that great of arguments, but I almost want to just give it all to Mr. Girl because I'm tired of Big Papa Fascist talking about logic.
You think should happen was what I asked you, and in order to come up with your answer, you took two things. You took logic. And when it comes to caring about a one-celled organism, logic is pretty much all you're left with. There's
I don't even want to hear that fucking word just talking.
I agree. Your emotions.
But I don't have any feeling from people in Afghanistan who get bombed.
That's the one good thing about doing math and shit. Like literally studying like actual logic, and also having studied philosophical logic, is I can tell people to shut their fucking mouth and stop using that word at me.
Either, Max, and neither do you. Let's not fucking kid ourselves. Like, you're not up at night thinking about little kids who get bombed in foreign countries. So
how I feel about kids in foreign countries
probably does when he goes to vote.
How I feel about kids in foreign countries.
Well, then that's how I would feel when I went to a vote on abortion.
Guys, I'm sorry, but we have to share this panel with multiple people, so I want to give Pedro a chance to interrogate.
It's true. It's just been
Bryce
these two
over
guys
here.
so far. They're like eating it all up.
The problem with your side of the aisle is this.
What fucking side of the aisle am I on?
Yeah, you guys are. Here's the issue. Here's the issue. Actually, no. Shut up. Shut up.
I've not said what I think about abortion. I just said I don't fucking know.
I told you guys. You guys should know by now. I'm sorry, Andrew. You should know by now in this conversation that Mr. Girl, if anything, is a centrist on this. I don't know where the fuck you're getting far left from.
I do like the cut of her dress or whatever. It's very tasteful.
Left.
Secondly, he's not even. I don't even know if he's left. I don't even know what the fuck he is.
Left.
What does left mean?
It means you're not right.
Okay, well, whatever it is, dude. Whatever it is, you are trying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are needling and needling and needling, trying to get some sort of thing out of him to point at him and be like, that guy's a leftist, when he's clearly not a leftist. He's clearly a centrist. If anything, from all the time that I've talked to him, he's a fucking centrist, and I don't fucking love it because we have to share the panel with other people. So go ahead, Pedro, ask Bryce your question. Not Max, because Max is not on that side of the aisle. Okay. Sorry.
Then I'll do it like this way. So what if I told you, Bryce, that there is a
fucking nerd ass centrist. I don't even want to hear this shit. The only reason I listen to Mr. Girl is because he's fucking weird. It has nothing to do with him being a centrist.
Platter of options here where
if he wasn't weird, I wouldn't even listen to his ass.
Instead of aborting the child, we would call it murdering the child. You could say transplant it to a woman who hasn't been able to conceive a child and has for years been looking for one, and there's hundreds of thousands of people on this list and they're looking for it. What if I also told you there was organizations that after the birth, if she did take it to term and gave birth to the child herself, she could literally just give that beautiful child to us and we'll handle everything. What if I told you all these options, whether they don't have someone to give the egg over at any moment in the process of conception of the pregnancy, you don't have to kill it, you have way more options. Would you partake in that? Or do you have to be able to abort the child?
Like, they never incorporate the idea that it's dangerous, right? I mean, it's like it's not that safe to like continue a lot of pregnancies, but if we just assume all of them are, just like say, okay, we're only dealing with the ones that are completely safe, I still think, I mean, you know, it still does damage on your body to like give birth to a baby. A lot of this really has to do with the strange morality of feeling obliged to like early terms of a child, I think. I mean, I understand why when people start talking about like the third trimester and stuff, why they feel so strongly about it. Is it really begins to resemble or is basically a matured child or within the womb, right? But I think the idea that we're obliged to protect something like a clump of cells is kind of ridiculous. And even throughout many of the stages before the third trimester, the thing doesn't even resemble a person. It's not awake. It has often has minimal brain activity. Like, I feel like they do like an animism. They like project all of this shit onto the early child in the womb, and there's like no way to break the spell now. They just like have it in their head that they have like a soul and all this other wacky shit. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to be offensive. Soul, you can be like spiritual and blah 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 blah, but they're trying to take the soul and force it into this vessel so that everyone is obliged to protect it. And I find that really distasteful, and I find it like a really frustrating way to conduct yourself politically.
As this is a matter between the woman and the doctor, so if the woman in that situation decides, then sure, why not?
No.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out.
Okay,
Thanks.
so you would be pro-life then. You would walk over to this side of the aisle and say,
I'll check out the article. Yeah, but yeah, right. That's the other thing is a lot of people just get them anyways. You know what I mean? They're just gonna fucking get bad abortions. It's like you can't speak logic to these people because they just won't accept that. It doesn't matter to them. And in fact, in some twisted way, they're probably fine with it because it's like punishing people. So,
yes.
I mean, if you kind of look at it that way, that it might not be a primary reason why they do it, but that in some way they're okay with that because they're just fine with punishment anyways. I think that makes a little more sense why that argument never works on them.
So if you're telling me all those
okay, you have to understand.
I feel like they just know not to say it. I really do, because I've heard people talk like that all the time in like my home setting and stuff.
No. Hang on, one sec. So there's gonna be an addition, but the woman should still have the option to abort it if she desires.
Yeah.
She has to be able to kill the child, even though
it's a
she doesn't have to.
I mean, if you want to call it killing, I guess.
And it's not even.
So if you want to call it killing or murdering a child when it's like in an early stage of development, then I guess killing comatose people is just like murder too, right? You know, it's just like a something that is living tissue with our DNA, and we have to protect it. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
A serious process, some of these transplants.
Yep, it's
you
her
still
choice.
have to be able to kill it.
Yep.
You think it's a right, Bryce?
Yeah, I think it's her choice.
Even in the third trimester, you think it's a right?
Okay, yeah, I have this thing open. I'll read it sometime soon.
Third trimester, was that the 9th week?
Third trimester would be the last 3 months.
Third, the last third.
No. Okay. Yeah, I think
like
so.
all the reason why these debates happen like this is because all the arguments that should work on them don't. All the arguments about like, well, if we make it illegal, then a really large amount of them will still happen. They'll just be back alley, and it's punishing poor people. They don't give a fuck about that. And then like that it statistically seems to improve the lives of women in many communities because it just like helps with socioeconomic factors. They don't give a shit about that. Arguments about how it's just kind of clear that in say the structure of the law we don't deal with souls but rather conscious beings that have like reason and rationale. They don't care about that. Like they don't care about all these extremely relevant things. What they do is they say we must protect all of this DNA, and that's it. You're just murdering babies, and they just keep saying it over and over and over again. And so all of this shit that should work doesn't, and now so you just have to like start a shit slinging fest with the conservatives. That's often why these panels break down. Because now Pedro's just like, oh, you just get to kill your babies, right? Well, we do have arguments against that. Make no mistake, the arguments exist, and they're very difficult to attack, but they don't accept them. They just like fundamentally won't accept any of them. And they've made it clear over the decades, actually, in real life and online, that it just doesn't work. So you have to argue with them like this.
I think the only time that it becomes really problematic,
like, it's really
is around,
interesting.
Like,
Like the argumentation process over abortion is not controlled by reason. It is controlled by political will. Yeah. No rush. It's just good to inform yourself on actual stories of what happened so you have a stronger base for your arguments. Yeah, I agree. Like, one sec. I get these fucking balls of hair all over my room because I shed like a fucking German Shepherd. Yeah, I agree. Like, to be honest, a lot of the shit we've been like watching these panels where they're arguing with conservatives about, some of this shit should just be over. Because what often happens is these conservatives just come with all these feels instead of reals bullshit. Just, I think life begins where there's DNA or whatever, and we have to protect the DNA arguments. And they get to just, they get to set it like that because they don't accept anything else for no good reason. And at this point, people who are on this side of the politics in the U.S. have to become as educated as possible because that's just like the advantage we have, is we're not a bunch of fucking idiots. And it's going to become more and more important to like differentiate ourselves like that instead of just always be like shitheads on the internet. Because they, for the most part, these like fascists and conservatives aren't going to do that. They can be clever and they'll be cunning and they'll have all of this stuff. They might have money or authority, but they're almost never intellectual. They don't understand that shit. They think it's a trick.
I think that it has equal protection under the law, Bryce. The fetus there.
At that stage, no. I think after week 25 is when things get a bit.
Wait, the last third of the pregnancy is the last trimester. That's the third trimester. The trimester is each of the thirds of the pregnancy. So the last 3 months would be the last trimester. You don't think there's any point in there which it has a right to life?
Why don't people just go around in a circle and say when they think abortion should be illegal, and then we can avoid all these fucking
philosophical arguments that you have to talk about, Max, that you don't like?
No, we can talk about the philosophy of why you believe that, but we're spending 20 minutes on getting to an answer that's just a number. It's like, Max, how many weeks?
But Max, we have to have justification. I'm presenting you options to where
it could be even if it would save somebody else.
I don't necessarily know if I agree with that phrase.
That's what the conservatives are always like. That I'll present you with these options, none of which conform to any morality like your own. Like, I don't want any of them. It's all a bunch. You framed it wrong, motherfucker.
Phrasing though, because like we also will have like discussions on whether or not we keep people who are like, on medical assistance like alive.
But they're not alive because of somebody else's body. They're alive because of technology.
They're alive because of their inconvenience or expense.
They're alive because of technology.
Right. Well, it will never contravene someone's bodily autonomy that I know about, unless some special circumstance arises. And it depends where you situate the right to bodily autonomy, I guess. Some people would consider that just about inviolable, if not inviolable, so.
Technology, the point that I'm making here is when they're alive.
Well, and also, like,
someone's body,
people pay for the medical expenses, too.
So if
yeah, but I mean, the parallel is there, but it's not one-to-one. I think violating someone's bodily autonomy by forcing them to do like a potentially life-risking full-term pregnancy with all the complications it may have, all the lasting effects it has on human bodies. Like, I feel like that truly is different. That's a whole different right that you're just sort of like contradicting.
Somebody wants, okay, but that's a choice. It's not dependent on somebody's.
So you really have to explain why any of this is different. You know what I mean? Because right now the level of their argument is yes, it's the same. No, it's not. Yes, it's the same. No, it's not. You know.
Body. It's dependent on their resources.
So
But
we
can
if
we
it was
frame
the,
it-
I mean,
Could we
like
just
your
are you
body
saying, like,
is a resource in this case, though.
yeah, I mean people's bodies do the work to maintain the machines that those people live off of, right? Should they
Yeah.
not have to?
Star, check your DMs. Sorry.
Sorry.
There's obviously people that have to maintain the machines, and so clearly it is requiring some element of physical life to participate in this, but that's very different from directly requiring to be inside of somebody else's body for your own survival. It's just a very different situation.
Right, but like this dependency argument, I don't think like removes the humanity aspect. I don't think that people who are like in a consistent vegetative state but maybe might recover should be like treated as like less than human, especially if you're making an argument on whether or not to like pull life support.
Well,
when we're in a situation where we do have to.
So wait, okay, so I'm gonna let them continue a little more, but I think there's like a really important part of like that statement missing.
Decide between two patients, we choose the one who is more viable,
Okay,
who is more likely to survive.
Well, now we're shifting over to triage, which is a completely fucking different argument.
Okay, do we agree that whoever wins this argument, the other person's feelings are not going to change it about abortion?
Oh, yeah,
in the slightest?
definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the argument really is no longer about abortion. It becomes about whether the hypothetical is applicable to abortion. So you gave a hypothetical or a framing, and I agree with Flamenco. It's not that applicable, but it doesn't. It's your feelings about abortion are not informed by your hypothetical. So we can say like, we're basically critiquing it as an argument that you're making. But the thing is that there's no point in ever making the argument in the first place, because the people that you're making it to, like on the panel, like Andrew and Pedro, are 100% wholly uninterested in the art. Like it has no bearing on what they think or how they feel.
Totally
about this
100% hear you. I
That
also know
is
that we have
true.
an audience listening to us in the
I mean, even arguments aside, any of my opinions aside, that is, well, I don't know about Pedro, but Andrew, yes. I think Pedro, I don't know, I've seen Pedro talk a lot, and I think he's a better actor than Andrew. But they're also like buddies, so it's not like they're that far apart.
chat. And if we could change one person's mind or give them something to think about that they hadn't considered before, there's value in that.
I don't think that these are the.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say my shit. So my problem with what Flamenco, I think that's him, right? Whatever, whoever this guy is, the VTuber. My issue with what he was saying was, I do believe it's very clear that if you have a rights-based view of like somebody's autonomy in society, that like comparing resources to violating a right is just like nonsense. You know what I mean? Sometimes people get really weird about that too, where they're like, well, rights just don't matter, which is not true actually. And actually a lot of people think of morality based on rights. So it depends person to person, but the system of the US is basically based on that. Like our culture fundamentally believes in a rights-based morality on average, like taking the average person. And so you can't just like disregard violating someone's right to autonomy versus just like costing more money. It shouldn't balance like that. But Americans do that, and you know, part of the reason why I find that infuriating is if we had a regular healthcare system, we probably wouldn't even have to talk anything like that. You know what I mean? Where we're comparing it in that way. Yeah, I agree. We should strip all their motherfucking rights. Yeah, we should just pull the plug on all of them. Ultra late term abortions, the whole panel.
Things that change people.
Except her, because I like her. I like the choice of dress. She got out of that one.
People's minds.
Yeah.
You don't think
I don't
logical
think it's
arguments
going to
change
change
people's
anybody's
minds?
mind just immediately.
About abortion? No, not
There
really.
are by and large,
But,
my,
but Max,
my, I know. I can tell you, my
But yeah, I just think it's like too much consequentialism. It's like I don't feel comfortable comparing violating someone's rights to fucking medical equipment costs. Just pay for it, you know? Why don't we just run a fucking real society where we just pay for people to get health care and we don't worry about it quite like that?
My question
the more they're going to consider different.
Because I like we already have like a fundamental disagreement or like a hard time coming up with some arbitrary number in which we were like, okay, this is not human and this is human.
I didn't give up yet.
Okay,
I didn't give
that's
up yet. I'm
based.
saying this. I'm saying there
Yeah, I'm
are
tired of that.
organizations that are run by
I don't care about humans. I care about persons.
Christians all around the world who will financially opt in to give you a myriad of options that say you do not have to kill the child. That's not the option. We can hook you up with people who will take the baby from you at a point in the development where it's not very harmful to your body. We can freeze the egg and put it on in a stasis where someone else can pick up the egg. We can adopt a child if at the last minute
Can we really do that?
you want to get rid of. Yes, we even have listen.
Well, that's fine if you can remove it from the body. I think that's totally fine. But the idea that a woman should like view having the child to term the same as like just aborting it in terms of like how she should think of the repercussions on her life is ridiculous, honestly. Like, it just means you haven't really looked into how much of an issue pregnancy really can be. And even the issues that may arise outside of special circumstances. Like, it's just, it harms the body. It's a pretty traumatic process for a lot of people.
Listen, there's all these
like, my brother's wife had to go to the ER and shit afterwards, after having the child, or their child, so...
That you
and
guys
they
are so
didn't predict
concentrated
that
on,
she
I
would.
have to kill the baby, that you don't even know about. There's an external womb that's being developed where they just had a baby goat where they like it was nothing in the bag.
Okay,
and
I
it's
don't
now
want to hear this
full-blown-
fucking shit. I
full-blown
don't care.
goat.
Yeah, if there was magic where you could take the fucking kid out of their stomach before they went to term, of course, I'd love that.
It's pro-choice, not pro-abortion. Pro-choice. You can choose amongst these many choices.
No, I'm pro-abortion. I want more abortions.
So
I don't hang out with this half-ass shit over here. Miss me with that.
The difference here is that we
then
want
that goes
people
to
to have.
Andrew's question: is it okay to just kill a life if you know it's a life at conception? Is
Well,
it okay to do that?
We don't all agree that it's a life at conception, though.
Well, when is it a life?
I want as few
Probably
human
sometime
beings
around,
on
like,
this
week 24
planet
in the
as
spinal
possible.
cord, like the nervous system. Actually, no. Well, after that, long after the spinal cord and nervous system, probably when we see like the higher brain functions that tend to be.
Okay, so
We don't gotta murder them. We don't gotta murder any humans, but I want to slow it down a little. So you're not selling me on the whole not pro-abortion thing.
you think
What
you
we-
think,
Five months,
you think a
when the
23
PFC
week
develops?
old baby is not alive?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You think a 23-week-old baby is not alive? Or a fetus?
I mean, you
23?
can say that in terms of like alive, something is
Are they 6
probably alive,
months?
but it's not like a human life, not in the way that we
Probably
differentiate.
alive? Like, so you're saying if you
Biologically,
if,
not philosophically,
if
saying
you were
Mr. Hill.
pregnant and you're
It depends on your fucking definition. Like, do they know that there's like 10 definitions for this kind of shit? Like, take your pick. Like, there's one which is just sort of like biological life, and that includes having to be able to reproduce. It's a requirement to be a form of life, and it's one of the reasons that viruses sometimes aren't considered alive. By that definition, it's not alive, right? Because a 6-month-old fetus is fucking unable to reproduce. So you gotta be more precise with your shit. Like, sometimes that frustrates me because, like, what do you mean alive? I mean, like, I can think of, like, fucking, okay, so there's, like, one, which is that biological definition. There's, like, alive as in, has, like, a form of consciousness. like brain life and brain death. That's what that relates to. And then there's sort of like a more I guess you can get a little bit more abstract in the field of medical ethics and not necessarily look at the biological one, but just motivated a motivated life form of some kind. You don't have to worry about reproduction, etc., etc. So there's like that's like 3 ways to frame it already. And I don't do this shit. I haven't even read these books in years. So you gotta be like a little more precise in my definition, or in my opinion, because these definitions are kind of like slippery, and they don't even cover everything. You know, people have opinions of different formulations of these definitions.
You're 20 weeks in, and your doctor says, "Oh, you're..."
So like you can actually hold a personal opinion of life that basically doesn't include the baby or fetus. I mean, until it's born. I mean, it'll sound kind of weird, and it's not at all a common definition for life, but you can just say that shit.
Your fetus
It'll be really confusing, but yeah.
Dead. You'd be like, I don't even know what you mean. Wasn't even alive in the first place.
You know, biologically is the context there, right? So there's a difference between like biological life and philosophical life, Mr. Girl. Plants are alive biologically, but they're not philosophically like a person. They don't philosophically have life.
If I cut my hand off and put it on ice, or like however they preserve it in the saline solution, is the hand now alive as a separate entity than my rest of my body?
Wait a second. You're just changing the subject.
No, okay,
no,
but
he's not.
No, I'm not.
Current tech makes 20 plus viable.
You're saying
No, it's not.
You are
changing the subject.
you are overly leaning left in your definition of life.
What?
I don't care what direction it leans in. Like that's irrelevant to me. But
no, it's not.
When
That's
you
not,
talk about
that's not what I'm talking
okay,
about. I'm saying that I'm saying I don't believe what you're saying. I don't believe that you actually.
That's okay. I just stated that a lot of us have a different opinion.
That's how I
with regards to
believe
when
shit.
life begins, right? When I say
yes,
life,
I don't believe
like,
I don't believe what you were saying
actually,
about your
surprisingly,
own opinion
I
about life.
agree with Sen's distinction between like a biological life and the philosophical.
We can talk about
human
either
life.
definition. I think even if you switch back and forth between them really fast, I still will think that I don't believe what you're saying.
Can you read Bryce's mind?
No.
Okay, then maybe you should just like attack the words that Bryce is saying.
I don't think they're internally consistent for you.
What's
to say
the internal inconsistency?
That it makes no sense.
What's the
say
internal
that-
What doesn't make
inconsistency,
sense?
Mr. Girl?
Let me finish my sentence.
Go ahead.
You finished your sentence. Come on. And then he responded to it, and then you coped with.
He was probably
"Let
just a
me finish
pause, like a weird pause or something.
Unreal.
It's a little unreal, but
What I
Let
think
him
is
finish the
inconsistent.
statement. You know.
You're gonna
let him finish
fucking
the
weird
statement
champ
better.
in here.
Well, sentence. It was a comma. What I think is inconsistent is the view that life is like a light switch that switches on between the 23rd and the 24th week. I don't think you really believe that. I think it's probably
Sure. I
in your
mean,
mind.
it depends on your fucking definition, right? Arguably, it's alive from the second that. Arguably, it's a fucking life before the egg meets the sperm, right? I mean, somehow you can argue that like a cell is alive, I guess.
More like a dimmer, and I guess I think this just because it seems really obvious to me that
I mean, I don't even think that's true, because I think like the thing is alive at least as early as when it's just a cell, of course.
23-week-old
Just like a
baby
confused
may,
argument.
in your view, be less alive. I could see you making that argument, but to say
Yeah,
that it's
read
not
some books.
alive is, it philosophically or biologically, it just doesn't make any sense.
if you have a dimmer on your light switch, can your light still be turned off, Mr. Girl?
Yes.
So there could be a dimmer and it could still say it's not alive, right?
Yes.
Just because, okay, so there's no inconsistency in his position. You haven't even said something that contradicts his position.
Right. You're saying, and he is saying that the dimmer's in the off position at 23 weeks, and then at 24, the dimness starts to come on. I don't believe that you think that.
Okay, then I don't know. I'll ask you the same thing again. Why are you like trying to read people's minds instead of just addressing their arguments?
When somebody
Okay,
says
I mean,
something
I'll
that
think
I
about
think
what
makes...
I believe. So, what do I believe? Well, so my like daily belief would be that, I mean, the fetus is alive it's just not at all clear what that even means, what that implies, you know. I think that's a pretty viable stance to have. Maybe it's like a mistake to ever give too much detail, because then someone can attack that you even believe it, like Mr. Girl is doing.
Makes no fucking sense. Even to them, then I feel like I must point this out.
Okay, point out like the inconsistency in it, not like just like that thing you think is like, I don't know, tonally weird, or like you don't believe it or something. What's the contradiction in the position?
At some point, that's the problem with these topics, is at some point there's just a bedrock belief somebody will just say they have, and it's not internally inconsistent with itself. You can literally say, yes. How old is this fetus? 23 weeks and 6 days.
Okay, he's trying to fight himself out of this.
Well,
I'm
tomorrow,
not too interested.
say wants to come up with these externalized, hyper-logical, autistic arguments about
not that bad.
What official thing that you're
really partly conscious, right? If it's like conception, we know it's not the case that a zygote has any kind of consciousness. It has no brain, right? If we say there's,
he knows people have been talking like this for like centuries, right?
Like here's the early.
Like we didn't just come up with like logic.
We've ever seen the prefrontal cortex develop in like a human fetus, and go back a week, right? For the sake of safety. Anything before that, if we're okay with killing that, there's no real issue with like the position anymore, and the thing you're bringing out no longer applies.
Well, you're still just drawing a line, and you're giving an example of drawing a line that is very.
But he's basing it on your. He's
not making a lot of friends right now. I can tell you that.
Basing it on you, though, man. Like he bases everything on what you say. At what point does Mr. Girl take responsibility for what Mr. Girl says? This is my question.
Damn.
That's a really aggressive question, Andrew, and therefore it's wrong.
Like when do you take responsibility for the things you say and they're allowed to be cross-examined? Like when?
I'm willing to submit to your cross-examining right now about any topic you wish.
Great.
I'll answer
then when he's asking you these questions, and they're pointed questions, and they're based on things you're saying, then why do you pretend like it's bad faith that he's doing that? It drives me fucking crazy. That's bad faith. What's bad faith?
I don't think it's bad faith. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
again, can I give an example?
Go ahead.
Mr. Girl, you say if we're on our option saying it's at conception, if we say that, we are enslaving women. You keep saying that, then I give you every option under the sun, right? To where, in fact, no, you're not. That woman will not be enslaved. She'll be, in some instances, paid.
Okay, so I was not liking this a bit. Like, it was, like, mixed, where I was, like, kind of being able to analyze it, but not. But now I'm starting to love it. Because it sort of, like, went past this line where I don't know what Mr. Girl's gonna do. Like, I thought that was pretty intense when he, like, asked him, when do you take responsibility? I was like, whoa.
Walking
That's a real call out
from the entire situation. And in other cases,
slaves were
even
paid
able to
and were set free. That doesn't mean they're not slaves. The woman, you're saying that when...
Because now he's, like, backed in this weird wall, backed into this fucking corner that doesn't even make sense, because he's having to juggle defending himself and this weird attack. Like, this weird attack he did where he's like, I don't believe you believe it. And now, Big Papa Fascist is indicting him on being bad faith for that kind of argumentation. It's just a goddamn mess.
When women are pregnant, that their bodies become properties of the state. And while you are willing to give them great leeway and afford them blah, 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 whatever, essentially you're saying you are now carrying important cargo that is more important than you.
Yeah.
And you can no longer do whatever you want to your body or it.
That's true.
And we'll give you a lot of options, but just...
Right. That's how you have to argue against when they turn it into, like, a consequentialist calculus bullshit, is be like, the medical costs of keeping a comatose person alive is not the fucking same as violating someone's, like, bodily autonomy.
Because you have a lot of options doesn't mean...
It's not legally, and in my opinion, it's not morally.
That you're not telling women that they can't do what they want with their own bodies. Now, we all agree that at some point... that the state should tell women they can't do what they want with their own bodies. We have Genevieve, I think, is probably the most far left person on this topic, and she's saying.
I'm a little. little skeptical of Mr. Girl's productivity in this panel right now, because when he was like indicting Bryce of having this further left idea of life, I mean, I guess. Oh, but he already described it where it's like there's these attitudes left and right. I mean, I certainly don't think I agree that you should be able to kill a baby or a fetus 5 minutes before you would birth it. I think I might agree with that attitude. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it before I would like vote on it in a referendum. But I think there's a lot of really solid evidence you can give for fairly late term abortions to protect the bodily autonomy of a human being. And I don't think that's like a left stance. I think that's a construct of that the right has primarily done in order to like really entrench this issue. Because I do view the religious fervor of the right as the main force that began the abortion debate in the United States. We don't handle it like most countries. And there's only a few countries that are now sort of reaching this level of religions becoming like formalized political blocs and attacking abortion again. So at least in Europe and like the West and everything. So we've always had this really strange setup to how we deal with the morality and the law surrounding this issue and the issue of contraception. I really do think it is fairly specific to this country.
You guys are saying something like 24 weeks, okay, and you're saying 24 seconds, but it's still the same. It's the same thing, right?
So
that's why it's a statement.
Like there are key things that happened, such as the Catholic Church being against abortion in some forms. I can't remember their full stance. It might be all forms. However, in the United States, this really is pushed by political will more than anything these days. It's not just emotion. Like, it's a truly political event, this sort of turning all of this tension and turmoil surrounding the topic of abortion into something powerful enough to change Roe versus Wade. That's political will.
I want to flesh out some of. I kind of want to flesh out some of the things that you and Pedro both kind of said up with regards to the timing as well. You're saying like somebody that his wife is in a car crash, like he's not going to be like, oh,
or her wife,
or her wife, or their wife.
Yeah, lesbians are generally getting. I don't think lesbians are getting pregnant unless they want to. Generally, but yeah.
Yeah. So if they experience this, they're gonna cope with that loss by being like, "Oh, well, it wasn't alive anyway."
No,
do you
I'm
think
just saying that's not how they're. That doesn't. Your descriptor of the baby at 23 weeks is not alive. Does not fit how they will emotionally feel, and it does not fit like the biological truth of the situation. They will feel
the biological truth in that situation, right? I mean, you're gonna experience a ton of different like brain like neurotransmitters, like hormones and everything.
Even a woman who loses a baby at 3 weeks, if it's not intentional, is going to feel a horrific loss, like her child is
it's a serious decision for sure, but it's still a choice.
No, I'm not saying it's a serious decision. I'm saying that that you can develop the same feelings, strong feelings of motherly attachment to a 3-week-old child when a child's taken away from you.
But that doesn't, I don't like that, because it's like, is our obligation truly hinged on feelings? Because I do think a large amount of morality is based on how we feel about some things. But at the end of the day, I believe obligation is like a reasonable and logical thing. You can suss out why you have an obligation to people and things, I feel like. It's not just, well, the mother is capable of feeling emotions for their pregnancy or their child that's growing in their womb or whatever. I'm not sure that's like that big of a deal. Because if the mother is capable of coming to the conclusion that they just want to have the abortion, this fundamentally is like a legal and rights-based issue. And you just have to give it to them or take it away. Either they're allowed to do it or they're not. I don't think anything like sentiment like contravenes on the issue of whether or not someone should have like an abortion. And I don't even think it's that interesting of morality. It's just like too naive. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck about a lot of things involving people's feelings. If I feel like there is a perfectly reasonable, like, structure to use, like something consistent instead of just like, oh, well, I feel this way. You can't just always be feeling, or else everyone can just be a tyrant, you know? If everything's feeling, then the world doesn't fucking work.
You
determine.
Okay, but
So I don't, you know, as much as I really do give people room for their feelings, we cannot base our obligations off of it.
But we're talking like the whole prospect of mothers wanting to murder their own children is just kind of horrible.
That's absolutely well.
That's a weird way to frame it, to try to like actually evoke that reaction, though. Like that's not what we're talking about. Is the legitimacy of a woman making the choice, right? We're not talking. We're trying to avoid a situation like how you're trying to frame it.
Women are frequently mournful and feel they suffer from loss after an abortion, but they still recognize that they're making a choice where the converse of that would have been worse. It's still a choice.
Even if you feel sad about it, it's still it's obviously murder.
Well, I think we would disagree that it's murder, but you could say that it's like an abortion. Like yeah, it's obviously very much an abortion, and it's going to have like serious.
Stopping some things.
Well, yeah, we can agree that abortion
right?
is abortion. I'm glad that we could come together on that.
We are snuffing out a potential life, absolutely.
I would say you are snuffing out an actual life. I would say it is murder. It's just murder
This is like the problem. See, like, Mr. Girl's really good when he's having interviews and discussions of certain topics. I don't think he's shining right now. I don't think this is where he should be having his arguments. Because I just think everything he's saying is kind of fucking nonsense. Like, degrees of murder. We can all agree that it is murder. I don't fucking agree. Because I think murder is a complicated thing that is fundamentally, like, law-based. You know? I mean, I use murder figuratively, but I don't think of murder as anything outside the law. And in that case, you have to set up all of these circumstances, in my opinion, of sort of like anticipation of the rights of individuals in certain situations. And in that case, it's fucking not murder because it's not a fucking living being that we have vested with a bunch of rights. Meanwhile, the mother is, you know. That's my view, if we want to get technical. So I really do think, like, Mr. Girl is out of his depth right now. And he's kind of talking a bunch of fucking nonsense.
We disagree.
I can see why this thing lasted 6 hours, because they aren't going nowhere fast.
On where the line of when it becomes a life is.
Genevieve,
exactly.
Why do you have to have the option of taking out the possibility, snuffing out the life, murdering the child, when you have literally every other option under the sun to go about?
Because we want people to have a standard of bodily autonomy.
And
well,
that
you'll
is
walk
the
away
best
scot-free,
option
and
right
you'll
now.
never have to see the child again.
Dude,
You'll have
I think
totally
you are.
bodily
This
autonomy.
is so much cope from both of you. You are
What's the
coping by
issue in my
acting like,
position?
oh, it's such a not an inconvenient at all. It's not inconvenient at all to be told
no,
that
I'm
you
not
have
saying
to.
it.
No,
I'm saying it's emotionally. I'm saying it's emotionally racking. I'm saying
It
there's
is.
people here
It's
to help
not.
you
It's
with it.
clearly a medically violating, invasive, rapey, gross thing.
Pedro, nobody on the panel thinks you said that. Don't worry about it.
It's rapey? It's rapey?
Yeah.
What do you mean it's fucking rapey? What the fuck are you talking about, man?
To have
Just
the
talk
police
to it.
tell
It's virtue
to have the
signaling.
police tell you that you have to have a fucking baby come out of your vagina.
The police are
Pedro,
telling
here's
you.
why, if I could answer.
Well, we're talking about the law, right? Yeah.
Let's
the
let her
police.
answer.
Like,
Let's let
ultimately,
Genevieve
Pedro,
answer.
our opinions
The
are all
reason
backed by
that
violence,
it's
right?
important-
That's what we're talking about.
Okay,
When
let's let
can the cops kick your door
reason
down
that
and put
abortion
you in
is an
handcuffs?
important option amongst all of the others is because it is a viable medical option that may very well be the least harmful and the
And then
least
you have these
invasive.
fucking euphemisms. Like, don't just
Hello?
call it murder. Just
Yeah,
say yes.
let-
it's not
let her
murder, and
finish.
then
Guys, shut up!
Would you like
you
to
guys
know
are
it's
just
not?
talking
Shut
past
up!
each other.
Shut
Just,
up!
look,
Shut up!
Genevieve.
Shut up! Let Genevieve finish. Thank you.
She's just gonna use a bunch of euphemisms
Shut
that don't
up!
fucking land.
Shut
with the
up!
people
You've
she's
had
talking to.
so much time to talk, Mr. Girl. Let her
How
talk.
dare you? How dare you, Mr.
Shut up,
Girl.
Andrew. You've also had a lot of time to talk. You guys are the two biggest divas in the world. Do you know that? I'm fucking tired of it. Genevieve,
We're having
please
fun.
continue.
Shut up, Stardust.
Sorry, Genevieve.
That's okay. It's important to have all medically available options when you're making a decision that's going to impact your
Like
health
murder?
and your future. All of them.
What did I tell you
because
about interrupting? What did I tell you? What did I tell you about fucking talking when I'm talking?
I would just mute. I would just start muting people for like a minute, 2 minutes, shit like that. You know.
That was good though, Stardust. That was funny. I'm
Sorry.
just saying it was.
Okay, continue, Genevieve. I'm sorry.
You defining abortion as murder is specifically an opinion. We're not going to agree on when it's murder
objectively
and when
murder.
it's not.
It
If
is
it's not a
obviously murder.
viable life, if it can't survive on its own,
We
then
already
how is it-
acknowledge
Is it
that
okay?
things that
It's not murder
can't-
if you kill a retarded person then? 'Cause
Yeah,
they
like
can't
we've
survive
already
on their own.
established
That's-
that like the
viability is not a
inability to
defense.
survive
I'm not
on its
trying
own
to
isn't
change-
a gateway for humanity.
I'm not trying to change your
Viability is crucial here, because the very idea of murder is ending a life that would otherwise go on, right? So the idea of calling something murder when you destroy something that has a pretty high chance of not surviving is ridiculous. Like, say, destroying just like an egg that has been fertilized and hasn't even implanted yet. You know, that's not fucking murder. Sorry.
mind, but what I'm trying to relay is that, again, it's important to have choices, because what you might not understand and what the importance
I
of
think it's
medical
pretty
privacy is
straightforward,
I
actually.
shouldn't have to disclose all of the reasons that I'm making a choice, because they don't impact you. They impact me.
It doesn't. No,
I mean,
that's
like,
not true.
even-
It does impact
wait,
me.
that's-
It
that's not
impact- What
even-
you do to your baby does impact me. That's why we have these laws.
Hold on, real quick. That's not even true in like current abortion law standards. Like, all the abortion laws on the books are for on-demand abortions. If it's your life is threatened if you carry this pregnancy to term, like I think even the most restrictive abortion states like say, oh yeah, no, you're fine. You can terminate the pregnancy in
That
that regard.
becomes a difficult
It's still
area to
murder.
define when exactly, like how
Well,
severe.
in that case, if it
maybe
comes
it's
like
a
something
mental
that you're
health
like,
issue. Maybe the mother feels like she's gonna have to commit suicide should she be in this situation.
This is actually a bit of an issue, but it's probably not going to go over well to argue it. It's like an issue in some areas how they deem when someone is allowed to have an abortion. And there are some issues of people not being allowed to have an abortion due to like the laws and the specifics of the laws, and then them dying because of it. But I don't know what the numbers are, and I don't think it's going to go over well here.
no, I'm talking
they're
about
gonna
like
attack
actual
it.
like physical problems that might arise from
Mental
carrying
health
pregnancy to
well-being,
term.
mental capacity, that doesn't have an effect on people's overall wellness or ability to be a
Not
parent.
not as concretely
Okay.
as physical ones. Yeah, no.
The problem with the euphemisms and the talking around it is that the more you do it, the more it seems like you actually don't think it's right. It makes it seem like you can't handle that you want to murder babies. Just say that you want to murder babies, and then there's nothing to argue with that. Just be like,
you just have an
just like,
obsession
yeah,
with moralizing it.
just be like, yeah, there's some babies I'm okay with murdering. If they're under 24 weeks, then yeah, you can murder a baby. I think it's worth
Yeah, I
it.
love aborting babies
And then
under
we don't
24.
have to
Yeah, I do.
have a fucking.
I think it's wonderful. You know, if you don't want to have... Okay, I will admit there's some time probably that we need to have a discussion of how late of an abortion we can have. But, like, fuck, I am... Just get rid of the fucking kid unless it's basically a baby already, you know? I get it. Like, I get what he's fucking talking about, but there are complexities that's not just this Freudian bullshit of, oh, I'm trying to hide from it.
50-year
Why do you keep complaining
conversation
about the semantics? Why can't you just like actually engage with the position that anybody else?
Because this entire conversation, the entire conversation about abortion is only a conversation about
It's their actual moral
It's
argument.
very important. People like this is their specialty, you know.
These people are making, right? And what
Well,
you're
no,
doing is you're just saying like,
Genevieve was
oh, but
making
that's
a
the bad
semantic
word. You should
one.
say murder instead. You should say like really harsh language instead of like the
Because,
language
yes,
that you want to
It's like not murder.
say. Like it's just like tone
because the
policing
language you're
and like
using
semantic
is-
policing.
it's
Just engage
a
with the
lie,
position.
because you're lying.
That's not a lie.
Do you actually
think it
think that
is.
Genevieve believes it's murder?
Yes.
You're okay. Did you read her mind to figure that out?
No.
then engage with the position she's saying, right? Stop engaging with like this weird mind reading
Well,
shit
I
you're
don't
doing
think
every 30
that.
seconds.
I don't think that.
It's
I
not
don't think
mind
that
read. I just think that
Genevieve.
people. I think that people. Okay,
Mr. Girl's the empath.
Do you think I have to be a mind read? I'm not. I'm just.
If I were there, and I would just start calling him a fucking idiot, and I'd be like, "You're so stupid. You don't even realize other people know shit." You know. I don't actually think that, but that's how I would be reacting. Is I'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, what? No one knows this? They're all just lying to themselves."
I am an empath, but
it's not. You know, it's not fucking true. Like people just. What about doctors? You know.
I don't think you have to be a mind reader to figure out that when people talk about political positions, like the "Don't Say Gay" bill or the anti-groomer bill, like when people adopt this terminology. And you know all the words that everybody's going to use for whatever issue based on what side of the aisle they're on. Well, yeah, when people start using these words, clearly they're shoring up their position by the words they're using. I think it would be more honest to just use the language of the person you're speaking to and explain why you're okay with murdering babies. And then if you can explain that,
just fucking
then
kill the
truly
baby.
get to your real position.
Mr. Girl, are you okay with murdering
Hey,
babies?
you just accept the language and be like, okay, murder the baby.
Then? Is that what you're saying?
To a point, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so what point?
I think I'm coming to like
I think it sometimes it just comes off as like a boring way to be a centrist, you know? It's like this cryptic way of being a centrist. Sometimes Mr. Girl's really on point and it's beautiful, but not here.
14.
I'm gonna skip a little bit.
We all come to some sort
We're
of
like firmly in Stunlock territory right now.
understanding that
Or
this
like
is a
loot
human life based
territory.
on some sort of list of characteristics that we all come to on our own personal moral beliefs.
It's not. It's not arbitrary. If you and I both agree.
I understand. Whenever 2 minutes without you talking goes by, you get really fucking antsy. I'm gonna need you to tamp down on that real hard.
Make your argument.
Can you dig deep for me, buddy?
Yeah, make your argument, Pegger.
So I believe that Mr. Girl's going based off of some collection of characteristics, both on like, oh, it looks like a human being and it has some organ functions and stuff like that. Yours comes from, it is a human life the moment that the egg gets fertilized, even if it's like 2 cells, then it is a human life. And
okay, so someone's trying now, 2 hours in, 2.5 hours in, clarifying some of these terms they've been using for, the first bit was another topic. I can't remember what. Organs, all that organ bullshit. So for like an hour or more, they've just been using terms that none of them knew a common definition of, and now someone's finally getting on that.
Murder if you terminate it. I think Genevieve is like a little bit longer towards the end of that spectrum, but even she's like, if once it
literally, besides Mr. Girl talking about his nonsense spectrum from of how far you are willing to go with abortion, besides that, this is the first time anyone's done anything like that, I think.
It has like viability, then it would be one. I think that this is also probably the reason that like the Texas bill is the heartbeat threshold, that once you see or can detect a heartbeat at like 6 weeks, that's when they're saying no, you can't have on-demand abortion. It's just that's where the abortion debate really kind of settles on, and it's kind
Fair
of
enough,
because no one's ever going to change their position on it.
Yeah, great, got it. Fair enough. Now that you've said your piece, can I actually engage with this guy without you interfering every 15 seconds?
Probably.
Mr. Girl, 14 to 16 weeks. Why?
I believe that I think for me it's more about brain development. So
are you not sure that it's about brain development?
So what is it? Is it brain development? Because for me it is brain development. Like the whole thing is brain and behavioral development, basically. Because you can't know what the fuck the thing is thinking, right?
Tell me why you think this.
I'm honestly not sure. No,
you're not sure. You just intuit it, right?
Yes.
And do you understand why people would find problems with that?
I understand why you find problems with it.
No, do you understand why most people would find problems with you just intuiting when you feel arbitrarily a human life begins?
Well, I think most people are hyper partisan. So liberals are going to have a problem with it because I'm arbitrarily deciding when it's okay for a woman to be enslaved. and conservatives are going to have a problem with me deciding when it's okay for a baby to be murdered.
Sure. Forget them for a second. Forget them for a second. I'm just talking to you. I don't care about what they think.
Well, you just said, do you understand why people would have a problem with
Okay,
this? So
fair enough, fair enough. So I'll go ahead and I'll just retract that and I'll just say this specifically.
Why are you so passive aggressive? Are you mad at me?
No, I'm just backing it up because I'm trying to get fucking answers out of you. And it's really difficult.
It is really hard.
What you ask me. Because what you do is you flip-flop.
Yeah, he's never gonna like answer the questions you want him to. It's almost, you might as well entirely re-gear your approach so that you don't require the answers out of him like that.
Between everything
you just asked me, I just answered a question and you told
It's like futile. It's impossible.
Me not to talk about the fucking question you asked.
We'll leave it aside. Okay.
Hit me.
So I need to understand how it is that you say that it's murder, but it's okay at 14 to 16 weeks, even though you agree it's murder at conception, and you're policing people's language even to say you need to say it's murder at conception, but I still think it's okay to murder them at 14 to 16 weeks.
Pedro, we can see your fucking notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you... Is that a question?
I'm trying to
you want me
track
to
what you're
respond
saying.
to that?
I'm trying to see if you actually give us.
I mean, that was a nice pivot to go right to Pedro, but just
are you asking? Is that a question? Do you want me to
again.
respond to what you said, or are you going to ask me a question?
Well, I just asked it.
I think you described what you're doing, but I can make a question for you and then answer it.
No, that's the straw man. So I'll ask it again.
Okay.
How is it that you're saying that this is murder right at conception, but you come up with at 14 to 16 weeks? That's fine.
Okay, when I say it's fine, I'm saying I think that's where we should draw the line. I don't think any abortion is fine. I think it's all murder. I think there's something immoral about it from the start, but it gets more immoral as the baby comes along. So I guess I'm talking about different degrees of murder. So
Okay.
I'm against capital punishment, right? So if you throw the switch because it's your job, I'm going to not hold you as responsible for the murder of that person. It's the state murdering the person, and you're just doing your job. I understand that. But it's still murder. You still murdered somebody.
Okay.
And so the same thing in this case where it's like, yeah, it's murder. It's just less bad murder.
Got it. Okay, so it's less bad murder. So since it is murder, what should the punishment for the murder be?
After my line or before?
Before.
It's punishment-free murder.
You just murder without any punishment whatsoever?
Yeah.
In your worldview, that's okay.
It's not ideal, but it's. I mean, again, it's not what I want.
That doesn't sound slightly insane to you a little bit that you just said to me.
I have to say, now I actually kind of see where Big Papa Fascist is coming from. I think he's starting to get like fed up in a really concrete way. I don't think it's just all like performative shit.
It's okay to murder people with absolutely no punishment.
Because he has no fucking idea what Mr. Girl is talking about right now.
It's just before the arbitrary line that I come up with.
I understand why you think it sounds insane, but like...
you don't think it sounds insane, though?
I think it sounds insanely honest.
No, it just sounds insane. It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't even sound.
I understand. I understand why you think it sounds insane to admit that it's murder, but also still think it should be legal to a point. Yes, I get why you think that's insane.
So, are there other things that you think that we should be able to murder people over up until an arbitrary line with no consequence?
No. The question is not about the okayness of murder. It's about how much does the person actually exist. So yeah, it is a person, it's a human life, but it's also coming from non-human life cells, and so you're killing.
Wait, what?
What are you?
What's coming from non-human life?
Make it illegal. Like for instance, right now you can still fly to California, Washington, and Oregon, and they will secure you an abortion. Correct?
I'm not American, so I would have to defer to you on that particular detail. That's not a detail I'm really familiar with.
Yeah,
but
it's on a federal.
I do think
Canada.
I think that there are laws in places like the U.S., Canada, and other countries, because we're like federalized countries, where there's federal laws that should like basically cover the entirety of the country. Yes, and that should be one of them.
Okay, so
I'd say it should probably be more on a state-by-state basis.
But we're just focusing on Bryce here. Bryce, you think we should have to, on a federal level, force Texas to participate in abortions, correct? Make them legal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you're Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to. Yeah, I mean, we have shaped the United States federal government as the arbiter of rights in that case. And so it really, if we're going to say that the Supreme Court has determined rights for like abortion and privacy and stuff like that, or I should say the right of privacy, and under which we have the right to get an abortion, then yeah, we to some extent we have to allow for abortions to take place in Texas. I mean, we don't have to force everyone to get abortions. They can still have the social attitude against it. But the idea that the state government is then able to just outlaw it locally, I think is crazy. Because that is the thing we have ran this country on up until this point, is that the federal government is the one that doles out those rights. It's just is that simple.
But
like they can't. That's almost like one of the few things they can't do, along with they can't override like the federal military. There's a few things they just can't really ever do, and affording people rights is one of them. Really, the states can exceed the rights of the federal government, but I really feel like they shouldn't be able to violate the rights that the federal government has set up for each American. And this is a common way that major political movement has manifested in the U.S., like with civil rights. So
you posit the democratic process as the political system that you want to.
You don't have to be like a federalist, but there's a way to understand this and for it to make sense. And I think I agree with it, that the federal government should watch these rights.
Hold, correct?
That was Mr. Girl's point, but yes, I do support representative democracy.
What aspect of abortion do you believe should make it? I'm asking a clarifying question. Just fucking 1 second, David. What aspect of abortion do you believe makes it a federal issue as opposed to a local or state issue?
Because women exist in every state, and a woman ought to have the free.
Well, it would be the reason I just gave, that I think that, first of all, by tradition, this is just how the U.S. has set up rights up until this point. So, I mean, we're not forcing anyone to get an abortion. We're forcing the state of Texas to allow abortion, right? I think that there's a key difference there. That we're just enforcing something that we have deemed the right of the federal government to enforce. And I really just think it should be that way, or else we will begin having... First of all, it's like a practical matter. If the U.S. federal government doesn't overlook rights, we're going to have a whole bunch of fucking problems. We really will turn into a bunch of different countries really fast. So you can't really do that. There has to be a certain adequacy of rights that the federal government enforces, or we might as well just, it's like we would become different peoples entirely if we all had different rights, depending on which state we're from or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I really think I really think it's that simple. Is this federalist, this sort of like necessary sin of federalism with that one point. Along with the military,
and like is the protected right of making certain choices like this, rather than facing like punitive measures or not having like the appropriate care available to them.
Do women not vote against abortion as well?
Sure, some do, but
Flamenco, I think that if you
yeah, that doesn't really mean anything, because most women are positive or neutral on abortion, and we all know there's like power dynamics within conservative societies regarding like women and shit.
hear that.
So yeah, and plus there's a bunch of true believer women who are really into this whole conservative thing, whole evangelical thing. So yeah, of course.
They're killing kids over in fucking China or something. You're like, that's upsetting. We should really do something about that. But you know, it's not my backyard. If you hear that they're killing kids in Texas, then you know, I think it's reasonable to be like, well, I'm not okay with them doing it any. I think it could be localized for now, but I think ultimately everybody who feels one way or the other is like, well, they're enslaving women over in Alabama, so we have to go do something about it. I don't think anybody in the U.S. is really going to be okay with.
Do you think the United States Constitution?
I honestly think it should just be on a state-by-state basis.
I'm sorry, guys. I want to cut in here. First off, super chat from Revolt Rise says fire content as always. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Somebody's in chat said.
So I really think the basis I would propose for a federalized protection of rights is really, besides the fact that it's like a totally pragmatic thing to make sure that the U.S. doesn't fly apart in all these different directions, is if you don't do that, then basically no one is able to like tell another state that you have to do the rights well. You know what I mean? It sets it up in this weird way where conceivably you can just have like a hostile takeover of a government and no one can do anything about it, right? So I really do believe these sorts of personal rights are the place of the federal government, and I don't think I see no reason why you should crack it down to the states. I mean, it's not inviolable like the right of life, but I just think it's fine where it is. I guess where it was, unless we pass a bill.
Do war flamenco. I don't know what that means, but okay. And
I
also,
made a mochi, and mochi is really tasty.
I don't, okay, I don't care. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That
It's
was
essentially
mean.
rice pudding.
Okay. I actually don't care though. No, I'm sorry. That was mean. I didn't mean it. I care. I like it. Anyway, sorry. So I would like to, give a welcome to Red Pill Gang TV. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if he is here.
RPG TV.
Hey, thank you so much for bringing me on. What's going on, guys? What's going on?
This must be when it starts getting weird, because I remember everyone talking about RPG as well.
Pedro.
Nice to see you.
Allegedly, at some point, this fucking panel starts getting really weird.
RPG,
and Chud was talking about it on in the first hour or something of his stream today.
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much.
You know, RPG. I gotta say, you're kind of like the first domino in the chain of all this entertainment content that we've had over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know the lore. I don't know if that's the topic for tonight, so I don't want to get too deep into that. I don't want to distract you.
You know,
guys
maybe
from
we
the
can
discussion at hand,
we can. I do want to visit that, but probably later in the panel, if that's okay.
Stardust is curious about the black lights. I bet.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I appreciate.
You will, Stardust. You
okay.
will.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I may know what you're talking about, and I may be choosing to not comment on it at this time. Anyways, we were just talking about abortion. Are we at the point where we can argue about the embryo now, or are we past that? Have I missed the boat on that one?
RPG had said that he wanted to get in there. He wanted to cross-examine our gal in the middle. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just came.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, the main reason why I'm calling in is because I had a few questions for the lass in the middle, if she's open to that.
Okay, as long as it's following YouTube TOS and stuff, so.
Oh no, yeah, of course.
Okay.
I have great respect for the YouTube terms of service, and I'm not gonna come on your show and do anything that would damage the channel. So.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, so question number 1, I was wondering, as a trans woman, what gives you the right to speak on behalf of real women?
She's not trans.
What? Oh, jeez.
What? What are you talking about?
Wait, she's not trans?
Sorry, if that's directed towards me, I'm not sure why you would have that assumption.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay.
Organic girl, bro.
You're not trans.
These are natural. Thank you.
Sprouts right
Jeez.
Oh, okay. My bad.
That's a
Chat was telling me
troll.
that you were a dude, and I wasn't sure, so
I'm really sure that's a troll. Okay. Yeah. That's gotta be a troll. She looks like a cis woman. So I think they're fucking with her right now, you know. Oh, sorry.
I'm glad we.
I think chat was
got that out
trolling
of the
you.
way.
I think chat was trolling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just fucking with. That's shitty. And yeah, okay. I can see why this gets so fucked up. We'll watch the rest.
Chat was gaslighting
Chat
you.
was
I
probably trying to
couldn't
get
tell,
you
so
into
it's-
trouble when you
it's
jump
all-
onto
Oh.
a panel and ask somebody something like that. Yeah, your chat was probably
Do
trying
you
to
want
get
to
you
talk
into
about
this
your
moment.
genitals?
I don't know if I believe him. I think he did that on purpose.
Do you want to?
This
it sounds
is
like you actually.
No, it sounds
uncomfortable.
like you came on.
I mean,
loaded.
my dick is pretty nice. So.
Okay. So let's.
I
You
didn't
have
need to
another
know that,
question?
Flamenco. I
Alright,
didn't
we're-
need to
Do you
know
have
that. Thank
another
you, though.
question that's
Yeah,
actually
okay.
accurate?
Okay. Question number 2. Okay, my bad. Question number 2.
Please don't be
How many
offensive. Oh, God.
I won't be.
Okay.
How many hands would I need to count the number of abortions you've had?
Oh yeah,
What
they're
the
fucking.
fuck,
You
dude?
could
That
have your
is
arms
that's
cut
what
off
the
and count the
hell?
number of abortions
Bro.
I've had.
I would be like millions. I've had millions of abortions. I'm gonna have more now because of you. I love abortions. That's what I'd be doing. I'd just be like like yelling at them, like abortions are based. Just screaming that shit, you know. You gotta get at them. You gotta show them some enthusiasm.
Thank you very much, asshole. I don't know anything about you here, but you clearly came on here because you want to
Yeah, I would remove this guy. Why isn't Stardust removed him yet?
insult me. I have never had
You
an
appear to
abortion
have an
because I'm
insane-
actually a cancer survivor. So interestingly enough,
How is
my
that connected?
endocrine system
How is that
is
relevant?
prevented me
She's telling
from
you.
being able to become pregnant, whether I would want to or not.
Yeah.
Stardust.
That's,
Wow.
I guess
Kick
that's
my
I
a
didn't
guy.
realize I had to
Um,
disclose
okay,
my entire
well,
medical
um,
history in order to
we know what you would
participate in
do.
this
I
opinion.
don't.
Why is he still on the panel? What's going on?
Stardust.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I had to
Believe kick him.
disclose my entire
Yes.
personal and medical history in
For
order
me.
to have an opinion here. It doesn't seem like you're making that request of anybody else on the
Yeah,
panel.
that's fucked up. I'm sorry. I did not know who this person was.
And that he shouldn't even be here. What the fuck? Dude, I never understand how people run panels. You know, I'd be so much more in control. I don't even know if I would have let him get to the second question. I would have been like, bye. You know, was real suspicious of that. I really don't get it. Like, sometimes when I'm watching panel stuff and I just see someone get away with something, I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? I love Stardust, but I feel like he should be gone already.
So I'm gonna move them out.
There we go.
I
There we go.
apologize for that. I had who is this person again?
That's okay. That's not that bad.
And I'm sorry. I have no
Red
idea.
Pill Gaming. He's I guess he's a
Red Pill
dumbass.
Gaming TV.
She redeemed herself.
Okay, all
More
right.
like
He runs a fairly popular channel on YouTube. I've never had any problems with him on the channel. What I don't-
Vosh really does have a great attitude for the left when attacking the guys like this, where he will just be like, I think abortions are fucking based. I want more. That's what you gotta do.
Why do the people
Because they're like slut shaming her for shit she probably didn't even do. It's just like a hate bomb. And I have a feeling that dipshit here probably knew about it.
refer to me, Andrew? All
Because he acted so shocked. I was looking at him and he was acting shocked. It's like he knew. He was probably trying to stop from laughing because he probably knew it was going to happen.
always cause troubles on my. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
But
just kidding.
wait, that's
true. You
ridiculous.
guys were
But the
very,
thing
very
is,
buddy-buddy with this
is that I think that the trans thing was way out of bounds. But I do think that if you want to personally question someone on a panel about abortions and things like that, I think that that's fair game.
10,000 abortions. I'm only attracted to women who have an abortion every month. I'm so fucking lib-pilled. I just can't stop thinking about how much I love abortions. And it's just great. And it's not murder to me, but that it's murder to them is fucking hilarious. I think that is funny shit. Because it's not to me, so I don't feel bad about it. Well, you think I'm, like, up at night thinking, oh no, the fucking conservatives think it's murder. No.
I don't see why that's a problem.
That's how you handle this shit. You just be a fucking asshole back to them.
I don't think that's.
I'd be freaking out after that. I'd be like, all you motherfuckers knew about that, and I'd be just going. I'd just be fucking like just yelling about how much I love abortion.
Right, actually.
Just contraception, condoms, all that shit. Women's rights.
Abortions.
I think actually that was first off, that question was very, very much meant to provoke.
That's
somebody,
right.
Saying how
let them have it. Yeah.
How many?
They start screaming.
Like how many? How many?
Well, I guess you can't do that because you fuck up Stardust panel, and she was cool enough to somehow corral Mr. Girl into this.
Do I need?
I'm not gonna lie, it was provocative.
Not a good phase.
But you do gotta come back at him in that Vosh kind of way.
And also it is and it's bullying. It's just bullying. And and also that question is also incredibly personal, and nobody should be asking anybody's health history here. So why don't we go around, guys, and each one of you can tell me how many abortions you've had.
I can't even count anymore.
I've had zero abortions.
Like, I'm so furious that now I am losing my right to abortion if I move to some state that doesn't have it. It's bullshit.
But Genevieve, I would extend a hand of apology to you because I don't know what those line of questioning was going for. Would you accept that apology genuinely?
I would not accept an apology. I would be like, no. And I'm pretty sure you guys knew about it too.
I mean, I certainly accept the apology. Yeah,
I would say no, and I'd be like, both of y'all knew about it, and that's it, you know?
I don't think that. I mean, I don't think you invited him on here and asked him to specifically direct those questions to.
I think they did.
I mean, so I don't think you have anything to
No,
apologize
look, now I had no idea. Red pill.
That's lies. This is all lies. That is some bullshit. I'm gonna go back and we're gonna look at their faces. Let's see. He's in there.
I don't know what you're talking. What the fuck,
You
dude?
could
That
have your
is
arms cut
what
off
the
and count the
hell?
number of abortions
Bro.
I've had. Thank you very much, asshole.
Let's see. So
I don't know anything
he's
about.
pretending to be shocked. So he knew it was coming.
Oh, you here, but you clearly came
Okay,
on
we
here
can't
because
see
you want
anything
to
with
insult me. I have never had an.
Yeah, your chat was probably trying
He's
to.
kind of.
your
You can't
genitals?
get a read on him, anyways.
Do you want?
I'm pretty
but
sure
to
he
word it
knew
in
it
the
was
way
coming.
where he's specifically trying to slut shame me is not okay.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, we did. Me
The
and
intention
Andrew
of-
No, conservatives love that shit. They love it. Like, they will do it all day, all night if they can.
That was very much because he's wanting to know how many men I've had sex with, how many times I've gotten
yeah.
pregnant, what kind of birth control I use, what positions I like.
Yeah, so conservatives, if they storm the government under Trump and like liquidate the State Department, blah blah blah, if they do all of that shit, then they will want that information. Like, don't be too surprised if it comes. Like, after Trump becomes dictator for life, if they really do start logging that shit for people like these conservative bros here.
Like to have sex in, and I think that that's completely inappropriate.
I think
you know,
you may be taking it
if
to
I
the
can just say, Genevieve, for when
I can't believe you're gonna fucking defend him, Andrew.
Whenever
We're not defending.
That's
him.
wait a
that's
minute.
close.
Wait a
Hey,
minute.
look,
If I
it's
can just say something,
I will, and I can easily.
You can.
If I-
I know. I just.
Okay,
I,
okay.
I
Wait,
can't believe
shut
that you're
up,
defending
shut
him.
up. Okay, if I can say something, Genevieve.
It did bring content.
One thing that I always find the most interesting when I'm operating in places that are either like with right-wing fan bases or adjacent to right-wing fan bases, they always try to they're always trying to test me too, asking me how many abortions I've had, how many men I've slept with, when's the last time I got laid.
Too many to count. That should just be as like so many.
Whether I say that, hey.
Yeah, I know. I don't get that either. Like, my idea of like moderating would be just find some sort of setting. Find some sort of like setting or plugin that allows me to just auto mute everybody. You know what I mean? Just like bam. And if shit was going down, I would just mute everybody. But that would be me. Maybe Stardust likes the look of yelling at everyone. I'm not sure. But I would not, you know.
Hey guys, and I answer truthfully, like, hey guys.
I would be like, I'd have like a hair trigger and just get rid of motherfuckers and like.
You know what?
I don't know if I'd get rid of them, but I'd be muting them.
I have been waiting for a really long time. It doesn't matter because either one, you're a fucking prude, or you're a dried up fucking spinster bitch or something like that, or two, you're a fucking slut. So I'm fucking tired of it, and I'm fucking tired of whenever I go into right-wing spaces, the audience is always, I don't know what it is, I have no idea what it is, but there's always like a significantly larger amount of that audience that is making sexual comments towards me, and for being traditional people, it really blows my mind.
No, she misunderstands. That is traditional. Like a bunch of guys like hooping and hollering about like fucking like wanting to just bang women or rape them or whatever. That's tradition. Like, sorry. That's just how it is. That's what like that's what like the idea of boys will be boys is. It's just like traditional America had this idea of like women's sexuality specifically that was like masculine, or it was like masculine dominated.
Why, right?
So no, I would actually have to say that it conforms perfectly to my experience with traditional peoples, at least traditional white culture.
They are engaging with groypers, and like they've never even seen a vagina.
Yeah, these guys like, or at least like him, like, I mean, my experience with just like conservative rural men is that they are quite sexist and don't give that much of a shit about the autonomy and sexuality of women. So it's really not much of a gotcha because it's already a game of them making it seem like they care because that's what their morality says or blah, blah, blah. Even though the outcomes are horrific for women, the game is to make it seem like they care while they don't. You know, at least that's my experience with it. I don't know about every conservative, every Christian community, but that's what I saw.
And when I interacted with right-wing spaces that are
right?
like, when I interact with right-wing spaces that aren't groypers, it happens there too.
Name one.
Less of an extent.
Right-wing. No, they don't.
Yes.
Name a right-wing. Name a right-wing channel you go to that's not groyper related. When
I interacted with Wignats, right? That would happen there too.
But that was due to racialism, right? Not due to
is it
necessarily
racialism?
Feminism.
Because it's about my body. It's mostly about my body every time I'm in those chats too.
But they would the Wignats would give you a pass if you were a certain color, right? Because they're fucking Wignats. I'm just saying, most right-wing spaces don't operate within the confines of Wignats and groypers, right?
I mean, my audience just...
I don't know much about online right-wing spaces. not much besides like the more extreme ones, like fucking like Trump websites and blah blah blah.
Moral arguments just ships with you, Stardust, which is kind of weird. My audience just ships me with you, which is really weird.
Oh, that's like another.
Andrew, I think it hurts your moralism.
You're not even a white woman.
Your morality stances on abortion if you're willing to defend that fucking interaction that we just saw.
Why? First of all, I've argued, I guarantee you, with more Wignats and groypers than you fucking ever have, Mr. Girl, successfully. That's one. And two, I'm going to tell you right now that there's nothing that was said. I think
that's one thing. Once I start, if I can start getting my foot in the door with argument, like debates and stuff, I want to go into like cozy and shit and argue with people, you know. I actually think it'd be fine. I don't know if there's like a sensibility of mine that, I mean, eventually, I wouldn't do it right away, but I don't know if there's like a sensibility of mine that they can like attack, you know. I'm not really sure. I'm sort of like a classic middle class white guy. It's kind of, you know, and I especially don't give a fuck about what right wingers think. They're just like, I mean, they're humans, I guess, but.
Well, the first question.
But that I would love to like go and experience whatever Wignats, whatever the fuck this group is.
That was out of bounds. I agree with that. But I thought that the second question is fair game if you're talking to an advocate. Now, maybe the phraseology was something you didn't like, but I do think that the question was fair.
Yeah, I mean, they're human. They're human, I guess. Like, I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not human.
Ask somebody about their own abortion history.
I'm just saying it's close.
The first question you should ask is, "Hey, can I ask you a personal?"
I don't dehumanize people. They are still human beings. They're just like right over the line. Yeah, I mean it's deceptive. You really have to use a microscope or some shit like that to see that they are in fact still humans.
Question about your own abortion
No, I mean you're kind of fucking splitting hairs here a little bit, aren't you?
I mean,
You think it's splitting hair? Again.
Yeah,
My
okay, go
point,
ahead.
all I'm saying is, if you think the difference between how many hands would I need to count how many abortions you've had, and can I ask you a personal question? If you think it's splitting hairs to distinguish between those two, in any sense of fucking
Yeah, I think you're
personal
just upset
boundaries-
about the phraseology, not the result of what the answer would have been.
Correct.
Yeah, right. So that's what I said. Is that maybe the phraseology could have been better? But I think.
Well, yeah, that's just like conservative fasci stuff, where it's like, we all know what it means by the question of how many hands does it take to count the abortions that you had. Because most women, if they've had an abortion, they probably have just had like 1, 2, or 3. I think that's the usual thing, is like, most people who have had an abortion, I think they only have the 1. And then the most of the rest of the numbers of people is like 2 and 3. There's not a lot of people who have had a lot. And I don't even think, in the grand scheme, unless you have some stupid idea that defines it as murder, I just don't see how even 3 abortions is that big of a deal.
I think that the question is valid.
I mean, we shouldn't, it's not nothing. I don't think abortion is nothing. I don't think it means nothing for you to walk up and punch a pregnant lady in the stomach. It means something. But I don't know. Like, what if they really needed those? I mean, maybe they made some mistakes or some shit, but now do they have to have a kid? It doesn't sound like they make great life decisions if they have to keep getting abortions like that. Do you really want that person to have it? It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
If you're talking to an abortion advocate who's a female, of course you would ask if they've had abortions. Why the fuck wouldn't you?
Again, that's not what we're talking about.
That is what we're talking about.
I don't know that somebody's specific involvement or experience is required in this.
Right,
it's not required, but it's not. Obviously,
it was back to the real argument. I can bring her back away from the way personal stuff and
Thanks,
all
Pedro.
that.
No, my problem is the personal stuff. My problem is the personal stuff. It's the constant fucking trolling.
Can we just
and
get away from the
underhanded
personal shit?
that is coming from your corner. And this
Yeah, I would bet money that fascist here, Big Papa, was in on it, and that Pedro was probably in on it. I don't know if I bet money on it, but that was just like a weird thing.
entire debate.
Someone knew that was coming for sure.
It's not my corner.
I'm gonna skip ahead
Not
though
my
because they're getting
corner.
like locked up again.
I mean,
But
yeah, the way he did
again,
it was
Mr.
actually
Gill
very
is
meant
your
to
whole shtick is
make
to be
people feel.
provocative as you possibly can
But he's
be.
not.
Why is it that you can talk about 14-year-old girls' panties and that's fine, but somebody can come onto an abortion panel and ask somebody how many abortions they've had, and that's out of line because of how they
giving a
That's kind of a good question. You know, personally, I don't add any more moral weight to like medical procedures. That's like a societal attitude. I don't think that's like a moral thing. I mean, I just think people should have privacy in general. But I wouldn't say that somebody's medical privacy and their life, just general life privacy, are on different footings. I think they're just like the same thing, you know what I mean? So, in a way, I think he has a point because it's like, well, Mr. Girl, you're always prying open people's like privacy and shit, you know? So how are you going to indict somebody for like asking her this abortion question? Especially because Mr. Girl asks similarly extreme questions all the time. You could almost imagine him, maybe not, I don't know if he would put it like that, but yeah, we'll see what he says.
Giving a provocative hypothetical about 14-year-old girls' underwear is different from asking you about your underwear. In a situation where you're not prepared to be asked, and you're hiding behind a fucking avatar.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he has a little Yeah, I don't know.
Hey,
I'd have to think about it. I think Big Papa Fascist kind of has him there, though.
A question for all the men on the panel right now, since it's appropriate now for me to talk about your sex lives, since
Andrew, if your
I've
only
been given the
defense
green
is that
light.
you're more moral than I am, then by your own standards, you're in deep shit.
Finish that thought, starter.
It doesn't mean
Right.
much.
So I'm
Like, there's probably, like, murderers who are more moral than Mr. Girl. I'm kidding, but it's not gonna be a very good bar online.
going to ask all of you a question. How many times have you had trouble in your life getting it hard? I'd like to know that.
Never. Not even
Zero.
once. I actually
That's a
have
lie.
The opposite
That is a
problem.
lie.
No, it's not a lie.
You have definitely had a time where you've had trouble getting it
I
up.
have the opposite
50
problem.
something,
Like
50 something.
just
I'll say
random
50 something.
spontaneous
Yeah,
boner.
They are. How many? Count it on your hands for me.
All right, Stardust, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
I don't have sex a lot though, so.
Mr. Girl's no fun. Go ahead, Mr. Girl. Bow out.
No, I'm
I think
sorry.
have
I was
to.
just.
I think
Got to.
I think ethically.
I'm saying
I have
50,
to.
Stardust. I'll answer your question honestly, like 50 something. Now what?
Rip to Mr. Girl. You were a brave troop. You
Wait.
See ya. Fuck.
Wait. Okay, I actually know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes murder... Well, right. It's like, well, it depends what you mean by murder, because, like, killing is justified often. Pretty often, anyways. And, but murder's almost like this intent thing. I think Mr. Girl's using the word murder to try to do the provocation thing, but it's not working on them. Yeah, I'm not. I think I don't think he's gonna be very productive in this whole thing, to be honest, Mr. Girl.
I agree with Mr. Girl on
It's
this.
sort of just like rehashing the same misunderstandings over and over again.
I think that what happened on this panel was
It's
was-
fine. You know, content creators don't have to be perfect. He's just not that good in this conversation.
really wrong.
I mean, it was a little
we all
out
agree
there,
with
but I
Shane.
don't
It
think
wasn't
it was like the
little out there. It was
world-ending
really,
sorta
really wrong.
thing.
I again would tell you, if you were like, let's say like you're being
Look, they're gonna just
singled
pretend.
out.
They're gonna just go along. They're never gonna say, "Oh yeah, that was really fucked up." They're gonna just lie. It was really fucked up. Can
When
we
are you
move on?
gonna say? When are you gonna say that 14-year-old girl's panties and bringing that up in the context of strip clubs? That was inappropriate. Was that inappropriate? But it's inappropriate to ask
It
a woman
wasn't
on an
just-
abortion panel
I didn't say it
how
was
many abortions they've
inappropriate.
had.
You fucking.
Well,
then
I
what was
said it was.
immoral?
I've already like like scaled it down. They didn't ask how many she had. They asked how many in a way that implies she's had a shitload. Like so many they can't even count it on like two hands.
Sexual
it.
harassment.
How?
Yeah, it was shitty. Let's just move
Because
on.
you are
Part of the
bringing
work.
up first of all, the trans thing. Obviously, I think he was just.
Yeah, that was
trolling. I don't
fucked
think
up.
he
That
really
was
thought she was trans.
clearly to be insulting.
And that's
Yeah.
fair.
Clearly
I think that's fair. I think that's
I
totally
think
fair.
I think that is sexual harassment. I also think it's sexual harassment to bring up somebody's sex life like that in the way that.
Yeah, I am. I like smoking. Well, you know, I use my hitter because if I didn't, I'd smoke just way too fucking much. I can't, you know, because I do this thing where I smoke weed or use my vape just like by habit a lot. So if I'm using like a big pipe or some shit, I'll just blast through weed. So my solution is just to use a hitter instead of like clean it out all the time. And I just like that because you can keep kind of like a lower buzz going
That he did
without like blowing through a shitload of pot.
in the trolling manner that he did for the purpose of
like, you know,
embarrassing and emotionally
Like 3 or 4 hitters is like 1 bowl or something, maybe.
damaging the person they're talking to. Now, if you're saying that I
Max,
sexually
that's why
harassed
I extended
Vosh,
an apology.
That is
Remember?
true.
You
you
don't
can't apologize for other people. Are you You're not a fucking monolith. It has nothing to do with what Andrew is saying.
Do we have to all die on this hill because you have some moral grandstand?
I'm probably gonna stop myself. I keep trying to get it's like my biggest expense. I'm so cheap otherwise, I just smoke all this fucking pot. I really shouldn't be smoking this much, but it's like, it really does help me with my mental health a lot. You know what I mean? But I've cut down a bit. But when I'm watching shit, I just want to smoke and smoke and smoke.
Dan, I accept the
Yes,
apology.
yes,
She
yes.
accepted it.
I'm going to
Can we
die on the
move
hill,
forward?
and I'm fucking taking you all with me. To respond to your other point, Andrew. If you're saying that I sexually,
What
if
are
you're
you
saying
even
that I,
talking about, bro?
if
You
you're saying
Like,
that
in some way, I don't even think I really should be affording it, but yeah. Yeah.
Don't make any sense.
Let
if
him
you're saying
finish.
that I,
It just is like such a good thing for when I'm just chilling out, especially when I've been alone a lot.
if I sexually harassed Vosh by talking about 14-year-old android strippers,
You were
in a-
trolling him.
Turnabout is fair play.
Just
I
tell
mean,
me you were
sexual
trolling
harass
him.
or getting
Say
sexually
I was
harassed
trolling
based-
Vosh. Say I was trolling Vosh because you were. Just say it. Just
when I
tell the
said
fucking
that,
truth.
when I said that, I was trolling Vosh.
Yes.
Yes, because he
Yes.
asked. He said.
Okay,
'Cause he said.
shut the
He said I
fuck
was
up.
a pedophile.
This was actually this
know,
was like
just
actual
shut up.
misconduct though. I would consider that misconduct. I
Yeah,
don't
that
like
wasn't though. That was fine. It was just when it's done the other way,
I think
it's
we
too
can just
much for him.
pinpoint that.
If you
there's
can't tell
a
the
The
division here.
14-year-old
Somebody-
androids aren't his body.
So
Wait,
treating
making a
women
joke
meanly
about-
is actually
hang on.
probably worse.
There's a really, really
than
funny
men.
division here. If you look at like Andrew's on one side, but Pedro's already apologized. He's already like recognized that like both things were pretty
Yeah,
egregious.
but Pedro
and was
won't
like,
say
"Hey, I'm
anything
sorry."
to Andrew, because there's a
Hey,
fucking
that's
hierarchy.
No, because I see what's happening with you and him, Max. I already see what you're trying to do is make him bend the knee to your moral grandstand. You totally disacknowledged the event that took place on this in real time here, where I spoke to Genevieve. I said I was sorry about it, and then I tried to move on to the actual topic of
not
the debate.
responding to you.
But you
I'm
had
responding
this
to
thing in your head
Andrew.
where you
Man, they're
needed to
getting
crush
locked up
Andrew
on this
under
shit.
this moral
About them, are you pretending to be stupid?
Mr. Girl really can just eat a whole piece of media. It's crazy.
You understand that my going with this because I remember what you said 30 seconds ago. So I'm generally I'm not. I generally am against it.
Yeah,
Is
but
the
I
short
need to
answer.
know.
Oh, you guys are
this
going
is
back
my
and
whole
forth.
problem.
Oh no, don't do that thing again. Yeah, he is. It's crazy. I never. It's amazing because pretty early I was like, oh, even Mr. Girl will get burnt out going like this, but he's still doing it.
An extreme solution for everything.
It's
right?
so
He has
fucking
process in terms
stubborn.
of, like treating psychological things. So,
Like, I'm not. It's like. What I usually do is I sort of change tactics or something. Mr. Girl just keeps going straight forward. It's just like the same line of attack. It's really amazing. Well, he changes too, but he's not making any progress here. So it's like he just keeps hitting the same thing over and over again. God damn it. Okay, we'll check in on the panel. Oh, I guess it might be over. Oh, yeah, it's like midnight. Shit. Okay, well, I might end the stream then, because this is unfortunate.
He said if they rape them.
That's
yeah,
right.
he said
think that
defending
everybody's-
pedophiles.
No, okay. Well, I'm gonna end the stream then. Okay. Thanks for hanging out, Rev. By the way, let me know if you'd ever want me to, like, watch anything, okay? And we can, like, watch it or some shit. Like, if anything happens that you would want to watch. But yeah, I'll see you later.